It does, I'm afraid. Yeah, it does. Yeah, absolutely.
Like, he can have brilliant things. He can talk about brilliant things all he wants.
Tschüss.
Board games, it's what we're talking about. Board games, I'm not gonna shout. We are starting off this streaming with a little bit of just me singing, and over there you will see the person known as Matthew. Matthew has played various games such as Monumental and Elysium. These are some of the names. And over there you will all see the other person known as Alan Paull, who has been on this show many times before and is someone that many folk adore. Board games, it's what we're jamming today. Board games.
Board games.
Something we can
play.
Hooray! Yeah, hooray! Yes.
That works. Really... That worked in a
fashion.
Way. Yes.
So, yes, this is episode 284 of Bezzy Beats and Board Game Blether. And today, what is going on is we are game jamming with Alan Paull and Matthew Dunstan, these two wonderful people. And I invited you both. Well, I invited you because you are normally here on a Tuesday. But, the reason why I invited you on a Tuesday is because you're lovely people. And Alan's, I was like, I like Alan, and Alan's going to be willing to put up with a bit of silliness, and I'll invite Alan to come onto the show. And then I kept inviting Alan because it was good times. And then that's the way that it's, becoming with Matthew. And then it's like, yeah, let's have Matthew and Alan and Rita all talking about aspects of board game design and go through it. And so that is lovely, and I'm excited to now be, even though it's only virtually, sitting here and trying to help facilitate some sort of game making. And hello and hooray, Nicholas Stratia. It is lovely to see you.
Could I just mention that I think
point of order.
Wait a minute. Yeah. 284, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, is only divisible by 2, 4, 71 and 142.
Okay.
I think. Just a random.
That might be true. I thought for a moment you were going to say, "Oh, it's a prime number." I don't know. It can't be.
No, it's not a prime number. No.
But I am not.
I think that's right.
Fair enough.
Well,
I'm not sure what to make of that. Is that
and 1 and 284, obviously.
You always enumerate.
Yeah,
I always enumerate divisors of every number.
I think it's quite important to know the significance of your numbers.
That is true.
If you say so. Okay. Sorry,
I've broken your flow. I'm sorry, I did break the flow.
No, it's all good. It's all good. All to start. Let's get.
It's not necessarily
Alan,
games related.
Have a moment, Alan. Talk about yourself. Talk about why you agreed to come onto my show in the first place.
Oh, it was the immense pressure you put on me, Bez, to do it. I think that was the main thing. The blackmail, and all that.
Yeah, I literally do have. Do I actually even have any photos of Alan? I'm sure I should do.
You've been using a photo with me when I was very young. At one of the first Essens we went to, which I've got massive hair and things, which is fine. I mean, I'm allowed to have been young, obviously, but Charlie's shocked that you would use that picture of me, which is somewhere. I don't know. Have you got it?
It was the one on Board Game Geek, and that's why.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, I'm not ashamed of that picture. It's fine, but it does date me a bit because it was. I think it was. with our game Copper Toddle, way back. Sorry, the reason I came onto your show is because I thought it might be quite fun. I'd never done any live streams before, and I thought, wow, this would be a new experience. Let's give it a whirl. And I don't think it's been too much of a disaster, has it, Bez? It's been fine, I think. You're muted, you know.
It's been very enjoyable, which is why you keep coming back on.
I think so. And by the way, I do game design and game playing and things as well. So that seemed relevant to Bez's Blethers. So
it was just by chance, you know, like you were invited by chance, and it turned out that you were also a game designer. Perfect serendipity.
Coincidental. Yeah.
It all works out.
That's enough about me. I think people who've been on this before might get a bit bored of me wittering on about myself. So yeah.
Perfectly fine.
Hi Matt. How are you?
Oh yes, sorry.
Yeah.
Hey. I was like, I'm just along for the ride, you know. Well, that's it. I mean, on the last stream, you know, I think I'm really trying to take the kind of Waldorf kind of personality, you know, just have witty commentary.
Okay.
No, well, anyway, people. I have a game designer, you know, living in Prague at the moment. Very snowed under. I'm not sure what. Is there a lot of snow in Glasgow or War Boys?
We had yesterday and the day before. I think it was predicting snow all the time. In 2 hours' time, there's going to be snow, and then 2 hours, and then it still say in 2 hours there's going to be snow. And actually, there was a smattering of snow yesterday in the end, it was enough to make it so that you felt like when you went for a walk it would be okay, and the fields wouldn't be too muddy, but actually underneath the snow it was really mushy, so it wasn't very firm at all. And we've had a bit more snow overnight, so there might be as much as a quarter of an inch now.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully the fields will be a bit firmer when we go out for our walk, but the trouble is the wind felt really cold yesterday.
That's a very down-to-earth sort of way of looking at the snow, you know. Like I don't care about the snow; I just care about how firm the ground is underneath the snow.
Yes, yeah, exactly. No, I like the snow occasionally, as long as the snow only lasts like 2 or 3 days and it's really, really hard ground. Then we can go for a nice walk and it'll be fine. And then the snow can go away and we can have proper English weather.
Quick hello to Xate and Elaine. It is lovely to see both of you. And yeah, I did have a quick. It was more of a kind of running walk because I had to use a lot of upward motion to get myself over each step. And, you know, definitely, was a bit of effort. I've got a few photos. I'll be sharing them on Twitter. And if anyone asks, I'll put that on the Discord as well, so people can admire all the snow and be envious of, hey, there's all the snow. But, you know, it feels like snow... We've already, and hello Dutch Yoda, it is lovely to see you, and we are already talking about recent highlights, living life and seeing the sights, recent highlights, playing games and other delights, recent highlights. So I've decided I'm going to start off with a quick recap of the previous day. Rita and Tiz and I did make this game, which was about baking dinosaur pies, fish pies, veggie pies, meat pies, and a balanced pie. And yeah, it was all about the spicy dinosaur pies. So that was
dinosaur. You're cooking dinosaurs? Wow.
No, the dinosaurs are going out to get the ingredients.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, cooking dinosaurs is ambitious, really, isn't it? I mean,
I think our idea was that this would be
some small
pies for dinosaurs. Are you cooking fish or big animals, or are you cooking just random veg, which we never established exactly what they were? Maybe they'd be entire bushes. I don't know.
Well, it depends on whether the dinosaur's a carnivore or a herbivore or an omnivore as to what goes in the pie, obviously. I'd have to ask Oscar, my grandson, which ones are which, obviously, because my 6-year-old is an expert at dinosaurs, so I'd take my advice from him. So, yeah.
But yeah, that was definitely a highlight for me. We also played a couple of episodes of My City, which I will give my full thoughts at some points in the future. We're halfway through it, enjoying it so far, definitely. I've not seen this before, like this sort of like a legacy game where everyone has their own unique board, so it's so easy to add a catch-up mechanism to it, where it's been done, let's say, as bluntly as this, where it's, literally every game, if you win it, you get some permanent points, but if you win it, you also get this little disadvantage. You can argue whether some of the... But I really think there's a lot of interesting work in there. I'm not going to say any more about it, but if either of you want to, then go ahead. What have been some of your recent highlights, Alan?
Well, on Monday we had our first game jam day with you, Bez, and that was good because I was quite pleased. I managed to, well, apart from meeting everybody, which was fab. Well, I suppose not quite everybody technically, but you know what I mean. And I managed to design the infamous chocolate battleship game, which was a bit weird, but there we go. And that's on the Discord. And on Sunday we played Tolkien with some friends of ours who we who've recently got back into online gaming. Hadn't been doing online gaming for quite a while, but we got back into that with them. So that was good. And I won Tolkien, which is pretty rare for me. So that was quite a good highlight, really.
I'm just trying to think of, for me, recent highlights have been, I played First Class yesterday. I finally tracked down a copy. I quite enjoyed it. Only the second time I played it, but it's nice, and it seems Tracy likes it, which is always a good thing. And I have found out that I have been approved to get a new visa for the UK, which is good. Won't get it on the street, but I have a very complicated legal situation with multiple countries and jobs and things. So it's always a bit of fun. I by the end of all my time, I will have been on 3 different tiers of visa in the UK, which is, I think, quite an accomplishment. But it's a good thing that it went well. And I streamed yesterday, which was fun. I went infinite on Luck Be a Landlord on the weekend. It's those who don't know, it's a roguelike slot machine game, and I managed to break it and go infinite on the weekend. So that was quite fun. I think those are the most recent. And we had absolutely delicious avocado this morning. That was certainly
nice,
a highlight.
I'm glad they're going to let you back in here, Matt, because it would be a bit sad if you were suddenly unable to arrive. But will you be?
It's a long story.
Will you be quarantined if you arrive back?
I'm not actually necessarily even coming back. It's so that I can still work for a UK employer, or at least there's a requirement for me to come back later. Anyway, it's a bit outside the bounds.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Let's have you on for a chat sometime, man. Just
immigration and Matt.
We've never done a meeting Matthew Dunstan chats. That I'm trying to do this with more people. And I've never done a meeting Alan Paull chat. Is that what you're about to say, Alan?
No, I was going to say there is. I heard the other day there is a game about immigration. There was a game which somebody's designed about the fact that you are an official in Soviet Russia or somewhere.
Oh yes,
papers, please.
That's the one. Oh yeah, which I thought was what an interesting idea.
It's really good. I'd recommend it actually.
Oh yeah. It was recommended by Ganuka from the Edinburgh History and Games Lab place. I haven't looked at it yet, but yeah.
No, definitely check it out. And that creator, Lucas Pope, I believe, is the name of the designer. Their next game is also amazing. It's called Return of the Obra Dinn. It's an incredible kind of mystery deduction game, but with these amazing, what do you call it? Like one point graphic, like 1D graphics, like the really old style of like everything.
Oh yes, lovely. Ooh, that sounds really interesting.
I really recommend. Yeah, everyone check it out. Return of the Obra Dinn, one of the best digital games I've played in the last 5 years. So, sorry.
My other random highlight. I think I may have resolved the long-standing problem of kingmaker alliances. For those of you who know anything about game, it's subject to playtesting, obviously.
Oh yeah. So Hello, Alex. It is lovely to have you in the chat. Who says, I recently lost a game of Kingmaker, but it was still fun. Would you know anything about that?
Me? No.
Yeah, I assumed that this was a playtest that Alex was playing in one of your playtests.
No, it must have been another one. No. But I'm glad that Kingmaker was fun. That's good. That's a good sign. That's a very good sign, actually. Yeah.
I mean,
we've had some really fun games. Although I have to say, a recent, I suppose, negative highlight. What's a negative highlight? Low light, I suppose. We had a game of Kingmaker the other day, and unfortunately, one of the players had immense difficulties with internet and Tabletopia and had to drop. So I actually had to play instead of observe, which was a little disappointing. But I did win.
And then you crushed everyone. So
I crushed everyone. Yeah, exactly. Well, no, I had to. I nearly got wiped in my first turn, but fortunately survived and went on to ally with somebody and win. But these things happen.
I mean, I've heard from
heavily political.
someone over there that there's a new version of Kingmaker coming out, and apparently it's marginally better.
It'll never catch on. Don't worry.
So I do agree with Alex that 1D graphics are just a line, but maybe lithographic, was that the word that you were looking for?
I haven't got. No, it's definitely a style of the old, like the old, Apple, very old Apple kind of, where everything was just, it was, I don't know, you've used very, very small dots, and together, you get kind of all the shading, but it's only one color, two colors, like black and white or something.
Like old comics.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I'm sure. Look, I'm sure if you look on your screen, if people look at Return of the Obra Dinn, when you look at a screen, you'll know what I mean. It's something from the 80s and 90s. All the computer games had this similar kind of look, and yeah. Anyway.
And Xate has been getting out into the snow and enjoying that, so that was a lovely thing. But lots of love, and I hope that your sprained ankle gets better very quickly. And that brings us to brilliant thing. What's a little thing which is brilliant? And Alan suggested something this morning, which was
goat's milk cheese, which is actually brilliant. And in fact, if you put the link up that I put in private chat, if you want to know what all the goat's milk cheese, there's hundreds of goat's milk cheeses. I was quite surprised.
This is just some pictures from Wikipedia, so thank you for people making this open source.
Yeah, it's brilliant stuff.
Oh my god, I love cheese.
One of the reasons I eat goat's milk cheese is that, partly Charlie can't do any cow's milk dairy. She can eat goat's milk and sheep's milk cheese, and bizarrely, I seem to have acquired. I didn't know you could acquire somebody else's intolerances, but I seem to have acquired a very similar cow's milk dairy intolerance. So now I'm getting heavily into goat's milk cheese as well. They tend to be stronger than cow's milk, as you're probably aware, but there are loads of different types, and so trying out all loads and loads of different types of goat's milk cheese is brilliant. Love it. I didn't actually realize there's quite so many, but there's loads. So yeah, get into goat's milk chease.
And there's a lot of pictures here. Those are some good pictures. Thank you to the people on Wikipedia for making those to us. I think I've actually had that one. I think I had that in Montpellier.
Yeah. There's nice cheeses from France.
True story. When I was in Montpellier, I was all about the cheeses. I mean, I would say for a few days, 70% of my diet was probably cheeses, and maybe like 70% of my calories, I don't know, a lot of my diet, and a good portion of the rest was pastries. Croissant d'amande. It's where it's at.
Combining the pastry and cheese gives you, creamy leek and goat's cheese pie, which is very kind of topical for now, isn't it? Really, I mean, creamy leek.
I mean, some people put cheese on croissants, right? I mean, that's
yeah, but if you've got some quality croissant d'amande, you want to enjoy that in its purity. You don't want to put stuff on it.
I mean,
look, the type of almond croissant that I've had in the UK, like from Sainsbury's or like any supermarkets or even like nice wee bakeries, they really can't compare to. There's a couple of really good. I know that Can,
Yeah.
It's not well known for its bakeries, right? It's known for its film festival, but I will say that I went to 5 of the bakeries, and 3 of them were good, like as you might expect. One of them was very good, and I would say like another one was just phenomenal. But that was the last time I had a good solid croissant d'amande. And that was in 2020. And then I wanted to have another one, but for some reason they're closed on Monday. What's up with that? This amazing patisserie, it's closed on Monday. What's going on?
We had croissant. We had croissant yesterday because Charlie can't eat wheat either, unless it's German wheat, which doesn't have the additives in it. And we have found, Charlie has found, that you can actually import from Germany some those croissant, what were they, frozen or chilled croissant, and then you can just put them in the oven, and they are really good. We ignore the fact that they contain dairy butter and eat them anyway. So yeah, croissant are a brilliant thing too. Yeah, I think we've established that. But we had them with jam, not cheese. I would have them with cheese as well.
Jam is certainly acceptable, I think. We've been having some stewed rhubarb recently. I was talking on the stream about stewed rhubarb, which has also been nice on some other things.
Do you have a special preference for goat's cheese, Matt? I like goat's cheese specifically because it is tangy. It's got that extra flavor. It's got that stronger flavor, as Alan says. I'm all about the strong flavors.
Yeah, I mean, I like cheese generally. I think if I had to be more of a favorite, I think I'm like blue cheese is higher up, but that's not to say that goat cheese is very high as well. It's just I especially like strong blue cheeses. So yes, yeah, we were talking on stream. Yeah, saying because on stream yesterday we were talking about jams and then game jamming and yeah. So
right, yeah, that's good. That's a good link.
I would like to try making jam sometime. After I've got into the stewing thing, so now and what was the other thing? Oh yes, like garlic. Has anyone ever put like honey, like garlic in honey, and kept it for a long time?
No, but I have had garlic mead.
Oh, okay, that sounds very nice.
Oh, right, okay.
Mead, right?
Knoblauch, I think it's called. With the mead person in Essen, which I didn't get to go to last year, but I've actually got one bottle, which I was quite excited. I think I put it in Glasgow just to forget about it, and I forgot about it. And then it's up there, and it's like, I've not opened it while I've been here, but it's like there for when I want it. It's like I enjoy having it just ready for, okay, let's get it. Anyway, maybe we should...
That's part of Essen, is the mead man.
I've never gone to the mead man. I've been.
No, it's the way to start off your mornings. It's the best part of Essen. Come on. I hear that they also sell board games.
Oh no, it's all about the mead. It's all about the mead.
I've never been invited to these mead things, So I'm sorry.
Hall 6, the mead man. Yeah. I think it's Hall 6.
Okay. Well, if anyone wants to share any recent highlights or why they love goat's cheese, then please feel free. And if anyone has any questionably quick questions, get them in the next couple of minutes. As I always ask, what time is it where you are? And let us know what it's like where you are. What kind of weather is it? Here it is in Glasgow. Looking out of my window, I see snow, leaves covered in a few inches or maybe 10 centimeters, let's say. Quite a bit of snow. And it's 10:24, Glasgow. Matt, where are you? What's the weather?
It's 1 hour ahead in Prague here, so 11:24 a.m. And it's probably some of the most snow I've ever seen. It's actually already started snowing again. The skylights above, I have skylights and they're covered in snow. And yes, it's very, very cold here. It's well, I don't know what it is. I think it's like -7 or something at the moment.
Wow.
And we're having the it's -7 at the moment, and it gets to like -17 in the evening, in the night, because we've got the Siberian winds or something coming at the moment.
I know there's some people who sometimes come in from like Nova Scotia or Canada who say, "Oh, that's nothing. We're at like negative 30," and it's like, really? Wow, I don't know how I could tolerate that.
Well, you just don't go outside. And as someone said, I'm in a t-shirt, but yes, obviously inside, it's houses are, unlike in England, houses are fairly well insulated, and you have fairly good central heating. So yeah, it's not too much of a problem.
Okay, Alan, how is it in Warboys?
I have to look at Matt to look out the window and check the weather. It's not snowing. It looks like it could snow later on. We've got a very small smattering on the ground. It's only about a quarter of an inch. It's not particularly cold. Well, I mean, I think today it's about 0. Yesterday, I think it was -2. So
no,
and it was really horrible wind yesterday.
Oh.
And it's 10:27 according to my clock.
I think your clock's wrong.
I think it probably is actually. Yeah. There you go.
We're all on 25. I think.
I'm in the future.
Well, at least only in your head, but yes.
So, Sate asks, "What is the sound of your favorite color?" I think that the sound of my favorite color. Now I've heard other people's answers. I'm going to change my answer to be a hot whisper.
Wow, I think that's just a good answer to any question. Probably, I think you could just. If anybody asks you anything, just say a hot whisper. I don't know. It just sounds very mysterious.
Okay.
I've been asked this question before. Zayda's asked this question to me before. So, I don't know. Shall I make up a new answer? But anyway, my answer before was the sort of the sound of the waves of the sea. So yes.
Yeah. And what's about you, Alan?
Come back to you.
Sorry, that was it.
Oh, okay. That wasn't.
So, I think we need some like little hand signal, like Alan is like, this is the answer.
Okay, so the sound of your favorite color is
Yes, I think that's about right. Yeah.
Okay. So Dutch cheese. Sorry, Dutch Yoda does not like goat's cheese or goatees. Aquasulis asks, if you were given a magic key that opens any lock, what would you open first?
Oh, there's a couple of doors in Cambridge colleges that I would love to open. These, down in there's a to the cellars at Trinity College, which are centuries old and run under a lot of the city. Yes, I'd like to explore them.
Nice.
I think the bits of the British Library that the public are not allowed in, that would be. Yeah.
We're not exactly the most. We're such daredevils, Oh yeah, I'd love to go to a college. I'd love to get into a library.
I mean,
initially I thought of Fort Knox, but I thought that's a bit boring. What are you going to look at a pile of gold? I mean,
I'm going to be very practical and even more boring. I'm going to say the thing I would open first are like some of the locks around this house. Because if someone says this opens any lock, I would want to test it. And so in order to test it, I would start by opening the locks around here to see, hey, does this genuinely open any lock? And only once I've sufficiently tested it would I really start my mind wandering about what I would get up to. That's a separate stream.
I'd want to have a magic key that opens any lock, but takes you automatically to where that is, and bypasses all the other security, because then literally the world's your oyster. Then isn't it? 'Cause you can go.
So you want fast travel, but for real life, essentially.
Yes, fast travel and the opening any lock, so you can go anywhere you like.
Sounds like some sort of RPG cheat code. Or something.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
How do I get to the train station? A hot whisper. Not a careless whisper. Where is the nearest post office? Hot whisper. Okay.
How often do you ask somebody where the nearest post office? I mean, I feel like with something, we've moved past a particular point where people need to know where post offices are, really, like just randomly. Is it? Anyway,
I don't know. I feel like I have legitimately asked this at... Have I actually asked it for a post office? I mean, I've definitely asked similar things in at least one occasion in the past 2 years.
I think I say correct.
We still have to learn it when we learn foreign languages for some reason.
Yeah, when Google will just on your smartphone will give you the answer pretty quickly.
Okay, so in answering Dutch Yoda's question, I would again wait a minute. Oh my gosh, this key can only lock things but not unlock them. I guess
we don't know that. It could lock it as well.
I mean, so if you have a magic key that locks anything, I think I would start off with the keys, the places that I already have a key for, just to test out. And then if it's only locking things, I don't see much utility in it, because I guess you could be helpful if someone's accidentally left something open and locked that door. Other than that, what's the utility in this key? I can't think of much application if it literally only locks. How about you, Matt?
I'm with you. Nothing comes to mind particularly.
Oh, wait a minute.
You could sell it to
anything.
A bank. You could sell it to a bank, I suppose. I don't know. But then it doesn't mean you couldn't necessarily then unlock it. Yeah, it doesn't seem to have a great utility, I have to say. There must be a very specific circumstance. Oh yes, okay, lock someone's mouth. Interesting.
That's
but can you unlock it? And that would be really cruel if it can never be unlocked. And okay, lock your board games, but if you can't unlock it, well, even you can't play. Yeah, like that's the problem. Like unless you already have something to unlock it, I would lock certain people's bank and social media accounts. Ooh. That's interesting.
I think
it's not getting a bit serious, really.
Yeah, it is a bit.
Yeah, let's let's move past this. And sure, I might try to lock my hair, and then I'd have to think about it if it definitely can't ever be unlocked, and then I would try it for a week, maybe just the ends, so it can grow out and I can get to trim if I really want to. But that is the questionably quick questions. Feel free to comment, ask questions, follow, but now we're going to get a wee bit more on topic, which is game jamming with these two people, Alan Paull and Matthew Dunstan. So, for those who... Oh, I like that. I would lock my age.
Nice. I knew there must be some application somewhere.
Oh, like, if you're happy with anything, you can, and you think that it's going to get worse, then you can lock that in, like lock in your current physical health. If you're like, yeah, you know what, my current physical health, just to not let it get any worse. But then that's the eternal question. Like, anyway, let's not get too serious. So, this is what we need to have for the game jam. This is what I wrote in Discord. It must be playable on a stream. So people need to be able to join in without using custom components. I did say that you are allowed to require people have something that they could have, up to one sheet of paper if necessary. And you could assume that people might have some little bits and pieces, something to use as tokens, maybe a bit of paper and pencil they can draw on, things that people will probably have anyway. And for sure, the host himself is allowed to have some custom components, if you know what I mean. It must play 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 people. Whether it plays more people than that or fewer 1 or 2 people, that's just a bonus. So if it's a multiplayer solitaire, roll and write, flip and write, whatever, that's great. And you definitely have to let people play from a video stream chat, like this one. And these are the optional restrictions. So do you want to have a wee read of these, Matt, and tell us what you think of what these things? What sparks your... What do you think of when you read pie? Creamy leek and cheese pie.
Just when I read pie. Well, actually, I did have an idea mainly about to work with Alan you have to tell me what you worked on already. The game you worked on. Alan, could you quickly describe the game you worked on that you were talking about earlier?
Yes. The game was called Chocolate Battleship. It was a party game And the idea was, it was a bit like Fiasco or Once Upon a Time. It's a storytelling game. So the idea was that you collectively decide on the theme that you're going to do, and then you collectively decide on the mission that your ship. The theme, it has to involve a ship. It's a nautical. I was doing the nautical option, so it has to involve a ship. So you decide on the theme. You decide on the mission that your ship's going to undertake. You decide on, after discussion, you decide on the crew that's going to be on the ship. So you might have a captain, you might have a navigator, or whatever, anything to do with the ship. And then finally, you actually carry out the mission. And one of the ideas of carrying out the mission is that the crew have to explain what they're doing by using mime. Although a revision to that was, well, maybe there would be some restriction on what you can type in the chat. Like a chocolate battleship came up from an example. The theme was kind of sweets and candy, and somebody mentioned chocolate battleship, and the enemy is, what was the enemy? I think it was the scoffer was the evil enemy you had to beat. So the mission is to beat this evil enemy, who's obviously in some form of ship as well. And then you have a crew, and because it's all about sweets and chocolate and things, you have your weapon is a gobstopper shooter, those kinds of things. And then you have to enact the mission, carry out the mission through the medium of mime. Yeah, that was the general idea.
I don't know.
So it was a structured game, and everybody has a single token that they can use to kind of override and say, no, it's going to be this thing that I want. But you only get one of those tokens in the whole game, and the discussion is limited to kind of 2 minutes. So it moves through fairly quickly, and you can have random whatever you like in it, really. So that was the idea.
Okay, no, that's good, because I also maybe because I heard you say chocolate battleships, but the sort of the random idea I had, which I thought could be interesting to work with you, Alan, considering your kind of wargaming background a little bit, because I was sort of thinking about where we would overlap possibly, and I was thinking a sort of a roll and write, but around battleship, trying to take some of the things from the traditional game battleship, but somehow making it maybe a little bit more interesting from, with some variability from like different types of ships, maybe that you could have randomly part of the game, or that these kind of flip and write, think like Welcome to, but you get to choose which action you're going to you could do your radar this turn, or you could do your drop a mine or something. That was a sort of the vague sort of elevator pitch thing I had in my mind in the nautical thing, and I thought maybe you might have some interest. I don't know I know most of your games have been more land warfare. I've not heard you talk much about naval warfare, but you're muted also too.
I did do one naval game. I did a carrier strike game, which was 16 card kind of game limit, design limit thingy. So I have done a bit of nautical stuff, but it's not a big thing. Oh, that sounds like I've never done a roll and write. So that sounds like a good idea. I had a stupid idea for a game last night, which I designed while I was half asleep.
You were telling us about the stream.
It's not. This isn't relevant to Matt's idea at all, unfortunately. The idea was it was a highest unique bid game. So basically, every player has got effectively tokens 6, 5, 4, 3, 2 ? So you've got 6 tokens with those on them, and you are bidding. You have 5 rounds of bidding. So you've got 6 tokens, but you're going to use one of those per round for 5 rounds. So you're not going to use one of them. And you're bidding again. Well, my original idea was have kind of bronze, silver, and gold. What do you call them? Coins or ingots. But actually, I think pie. You could just have pie. We're bidding for pie. You can have broccoli pie. It's only worth 1. It's broccoli pie, and the value of 2 would be a banoffee pie, which is quite nice. But value 3 is very, very obviously creamy leek and goat's cheese pie. So that's a really valuable one.
I'm gonna have to intercede. I'm sorry, banoffee pie would have to be a 1 value. It's a disgrace. It's an abomination. I can't believe it exists.
Obviously, with playtesting, we will change the order of things and pie names. Obviously,
I should hope so.
Yes, absolutely. And the idea of the bidding is that you make a bid. You're bidding one of your tokens, and you bid simultaneously. And if your bid is the same as somebody else's bid, then it doesn't count. All right. So it's only the highest unique bid that wins, and that person wins the pie. But you'd have two of each type of pie, but you'd only actually be bidding for you'd randomly draw one from the bag. Can you have a bag of pie? You randomly take one out of the oven, and you bid for it. So you don't know whether you're going to get. You don't know which one's going to be missing. So you're only going to get 5 pies out of the 6, because obviously one of them has gone. One of them gets burnt at the end, and you don't know which one it is because you're leaving them in the oven quite a long time. So it's the highest unique bid that wins, and you all announce the bids at the same time. If you bid your question mark, then you get to nominate the number that you're going to use after you've seen all the other bids. But of course, if 2 of you use their question mark at the same time, you're effectively secretly bidding against each other, and you win if you get the most points after 5 bids. So if you win the value 3, if you win the creamy leek and cheese pie, you're getting 3 points. So or in your sense, you might have the banoffee pie as a 1. You're only getting 1. And that was it. That was the whole idea. I don't know. It's probably been done before. It's occurred to me later on that it's sufficiently simple that it's probably been done before, but I don't know.
I feel like there's a Leo Colavini game on the edge of my thoughts. Definitely this idea of tied bids not winning. I can't remember it, but there's definitely I've definitely played at least 1 or 2 games. Maybe not absolutely recently, but where you want to have sort of a unique bid.
But it can be played entirely on the chat. You see, as long as you've got a record, you can play it entirely on chat, and you don't need an umpire. And you just play it. And of course, you can optionally actually bake the pies and eat the pies again,
just for an easy kind of easy sort of.
Play the game
Alex
as you're baking the pies.
I don't know if you know that one.
I must say I'm not a huge fan of blind bidding games, to be perfectly blunt. So I'm not. I know game jams we should always be on, yes and all this sort of stuff. But I guess that I would only sort of preface it.
I mean, the reason I thought of it came from 2. This is where you get ideas from. It came from 2 games I've been working, or systems I've been looking at. One was Dave Mortimer and I are doing another one of the Pocket Campaigns games, and it's got a lovely little combat system where you roll dice and you put them in order against the numbers, and if you've got 2 dice in the same row, so you're lining them up, so you've got a row of 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If there's 2 in the same row, you discount them, and so if you've got a unique dice in a row, then you can take off one of the dice of your opponents from a lower row. And incidentally, because it's a war gamey thing, you also remove one of their units from that particular battle. That was one idea, which is quite a nice one. It fits with a kind of Pocket Campaigns, Ming Voyages, March of Progress, Cousins War type of approach to a combat system. And the other one was, which I was trying to remember the name of for a long time, as a dice combat system called SCRUD, which stands for Simple Combat Results Using Dice. SCRUD. And that's a very simple system. So basically, you have a bunch of dice, you roll them. So each of the players rolls the dice, and you line them up highest at the top, going down. So if my highest is a 6 and your highest is a 4, you'll line those 2 up and continue on down. And then you evaluate them in terms of each row. So my 6 would beat your 4, so I'd remove one of your units, and you keep going down like that. And that's how you resolve the dice. So it's a lovely, simple, clear system. And any unmatched lowest dice you so if I roll 4 dice and you roll 6 dice, we'll line them up, and then your extra 2 lowest dice will be discounted. They don't count at all. But of course, you've got more dice, so you've got more chance of rolling high. And it's just such a lovely, simple system. It means that you're more likely to win if you've got more dice, but it's not guaranteed. So yeah,
I do.
Good wargaming system.
I mean, obviously, I think it's fair if people's. I know what you're saying, Matt. You want to kind of be like, yes, and let's keep building up and not be judging other people's ideas. But, it's fair if there's like, okay, I really don't like this. Is it just simultaneous bidding auctions that you don't like? I mean, do you like multiple times around auctions? Do you like?
I think generally I'm not a huge auction person. Generally, I don't mind regular auctions, but I think that that's just me. But as you were talking about your dice thing, Alan, I did think of a slightly different thing that could be interesting. Again, in maybe the context of something like a roll and write, where you have, if you had a pool of dice, potentially different colored dice. I'm not sure if it's within the parameters of this particular thing because it would require people to have different colored dice. But although I'm Google, I guess that Google dice roller, probably you can have different colored dice in that Google dice roller. Probably.
Yeah, probably.
No, I think you just add the different numbers and each number is its color.
Oh, I see. In any case, I was sort of thinking about this idea where you would roll a set of results and something like, that would order, say, the actions in a turn. So say, you had a red action, a blue action, a green action. And if your action was the highest number, then you would only get to do it once. If it was the second highest, or you could do it twice. Third highest, it would do it 3 times. So it's sort of a different, sort of tactical choice about
that sounds good. Yeah, that sounds
something like that.
So it would be everyone has to roll their own dice, and then you're comparing them all to everyone else's.
Well, no, I mean, it could be much more like an overall where there's just a central pool that's rolled, and that's presenting the choices, but essentially it's reevaluating those based on these comparisons between the dice.
I mean,
maybe, I don't know.
If it's only required the host to have these different color of dice, then that's totally fine.
Yeah. So the player, how would the players be choosing the?
Well, I mean, you have your kind of typical multiplayer solitaire-ish kind of game where everybody simultaneously can choose whatever they want. Of that, it's essentially a randomizer as to what's available. I mean, that's. I mean, I'm not. Yeah, I think that was a purely mechanical idea that came from what you were talking about.
I think it's a really good one. I mean, I'm wondering if we could do a kind of wargamey type thing on that. The thing about war games is that they tend to be positional, maneuver based, and I think that's going to be tricky with the limitations that we're under playing it in chat, unless we play. I mean, one thing I've been thinking a lot about is carrier. If you do World War II carrier warfare or something like that, positioning is less important. It's the thing about carrier warfare is, can you find the other carrier? So it doesn't necessarily matter precisely where it is in relation to where you are. It just means you could have an action which is find the enemy fleet or whatever. And I mean, the problem I had with Carrier Strike, which I never really overcome, and the problem with commonly with war games, is how you deal with fog of war. How do you deal with the fact that we shouldn't know where the enemy fleet is, particularly to start with, and it might be, interestingly, that doing it just on the chat or just on live streams might actually get us around that problem, because you've automatically got some kind of fog of war things in there already, because you literally have got a way of representing position.
I had a small idea, and feel free to run with it or not. Now, Matt's talking about battleships, the rolling right. It made me think, what if you've got a really big grid and everybody else is kind of moving around the grid? So there's one person, let's call them the host, who's got an idea of where everyone is. And then when people are moving, everyone can see the grid of where all the squadron is, all the people who are playing from chat, and then the person who's hidden these maybe it's a single target or some number of targets, and then you give some sort of clue, like saying, okay, there's currently the closest to my battleship is 2 spaces away. The closest, and there's this many things within 5 spaces of this targets. I don't know, some sorts of clues where it's kind of like a communal, will move around, simultaneous movement, and then giving some sort of clue for everyone to try and blast the battleships.
That sounds good. How about each of the players is a squadron of planes, and we're all trying to find the enemy battleship or something like that. That might be fun.
Yeah, I mean that would fit more in that, you know, that we're sort of kind of individually doing something and we don't have to worry about all this sort of because I kind of liked the potential for taking something like the system in, say, Tobago, where you have cards which somehow determine sort of some unknown things. You could imagine some variable way, like it's a kind of a variant on like a flip and ride or something like that, where the cards as they're kind of revealed are going to slowly narrow down where these things are potentially. So it's a way for the game to determine like the secret information rather than the players, and you're getting to interrogate that throughout the game essentially.
Yeah, so you could have a situation where I've moved my, let's call them planes or something better. I've moved my plane. I now know that it's not there. I see what you mean. So that you'd, like Tobago, you'd have.
Well, I mean, I'm just imagining, imagine a more of a map, I guess, with some water and some islands, and you choose, I'm going to fly to this island and activate my radar, and then maybe one of the pieces of information says, it's not within 2 spaces of this island, or, I mean, it's a flip between that and I guess Cryptid is also another, another kind of deduction-y based game that's similar to that. Obviously it's set how all those interactions work.
But could we, if we're using a host to run it, the host could be the person who holds the secret information and have it predetermined. We don't have to use the detection of like Tobago or something like that, do we? Which is just player based. We could actually use the host to know the secret information. So the host sets up where the host knows where the battleship actually is, but the grid we've got is simply recording our positions, and you could use dice. We could successively choose dice, which will move our planes in specific directions, and that means that it becomes all about player order, because you might want to be choosing specific dice for where your location of your plane is. Does that make sense?
I mean, there's part of me that is tempted by the system of that the dice numbers could represent the different planes. So if you had like a small plane, a bigger plane, sort of 1 through 5, and you could take something also for quantum, sort of you have a very big plane, which is the 1, and it moves 1 space, and the slightly less big, smaller plane is the 2, and it moves 2 spaces, and these sort of things. I guess the other thing about the not having to have a host, I mean, just as like outside of the normal, the kind of game jam environment, if I was thinking about making a game, I would love it to be able to be played without a DM or without a host, essentially.
Yes.
So, and I think I find it kind of interesting to think about what would that system be that would deliver that kind of hidden information in a simple, because I don't think there's ever been of those kind of smaller games with sort of replayable deduction elements.
I think the Tobago approach would work then. You'd have to set up all the particular, it's on the coast of an island or whatever. It's more than 2 away from an island, or all of these things. It's in the north half of the board, south half of the board, or whatever. Couldn't you? Could actually then narrow it down using that approach.
Potentially that you get to only cross off spaces. So like in these games, you kind of cross off spaces when you know that but what if it was something about you would have to be able to, not only do you have to kind of determine deductively that a space isn't the thing, but you actually have to get your plane there, or you have to somehow use the die result. So it could be much more abstract. If I take a 2 die result, I can put 2 crosses next to each other somewhere on the grid and knock those 2 things out, because that's via deduction or something like that. And maybe you get a special then you could have a set special. You could have an action between like the 6 is obviously good. You don't get any bonus action with the 6 because you're getting to cross 6 things off, which is obviously quite good. Whereas if you take the one, you only get to cross one thing off, but actually you get to look at one of the cards, or you get some extra piece of information, or something like that.
Yeah. That would be quite interesting. I think we need to determine exactly what the dice do. So I think we've got ourselves the potential of an objective there, which is to find the target, isn't it?
Yeah, probably you want maybe 2 or 3 targets just to have a sense that you could be working toward, like players could be working towards different goals. But yeah.
Alex suggests some sorts of collaborative map building thing. So the map starts off empty, and then you're placing these features and whatnot down to make sense of the clues that you've been given. But are you thinking that the map would definitely be pre-drawn and pre-populated with all these features, and it's just a location of these hidden items, or could it work in reverse also?
I think those. I mean, each of those ideas are interesting. I guess that from my point of view, the deductive thing and the kind of crossing off, that was kind of most immediate part of the game. So it felt like, skipping past making the map, we just start with the map. But that was I guess my thinking. But,
yeah, that's the part that draws you. That's the part that attracts you. So presumably, hopefully, at least one other person will be attracted by that same element that grabbed you.
What are you thinking? No, I'm sorry. Yeah.
The map building thing might be quite interesting, because then again we might potentially be looking at more components unless we have a kind of random roll a map item type of thing, or have choosing a dice, meaning we have to put a particular map type on the map. That might be quite interesting, because you might have the situation that we're getting far too much land, but we need to have some sea because that's where the battleship is, which might be quite nice and restrictive. So
yeah, I guess
it's gradually emerged. The map is gradually emerging, and at some point you have to have the battleship position is fixed somehow.
I don't know if Alex put this in chat knowing, but it's just funny because on my other stream, the game I'm working on with chat is a game very much like this, where you're building continents out of the water. So
I see.
I don't know if Alex put that in there as a sort of a joke, but so maybe I would say if we move slightly away from that, just because I've already been doing it like that. Yeah.
Let's move away from that one then.
It was Alex is feigning ignorance, so good. I guess the other thing that I sort of slightly I thought was interesting is that with this Tobago thing, I was also interested that you don't always have the same number of targets, that somehow the cards, the combination of whatever these clue cards or whatever, each game will have a different number of targets you're sort of looking for. So it's sort of a variation in terms of you don't quite know whether you want to be crossing lots of things off or not, because you may have more or less targets or something.
Yes, sure. Yeah, okay. We would have to. There would have to be. I'm not sure how you generate these. How do we generate these questions? Are they priests? Are they?
Well, I mean, I think you might have a small deck of. My first idea would be have a small deck of cards, and you're going to you choose 5. So even from a deck of 10, you have 5 cards, and you just they're unknown at the start somehow, and maybe they'll be kind of revealed over the course of the game, or maybe you kind of needs to be a bit more. What's the word? It needs to be a bit more kind of generative in the sense that there needs to be small, even like a deck of 20 cards, because you need more combinations to make it more interesting. Anyway, but in each of them it says something like, it's the target is within 2 spaces of the coast, and
yes, yes, sure,
like
yeah, that would be good.
Here's an idea, okay? So what if multiplayer solitaire? Everyone has one map which is identical, okay? And let's say there's a bunch of cards. Let's say each turn there's 3 cards that are flipped over. These cards might be things that say, okay, it has to be far away from, it's not next to this, or it is next to this, or whatever. Anyway, so each turn, the choice that people make is which card of these three are they going to select. And then of these three things, they cross off all the places that it couldn't be. Obviously, if ever you get to the situation where it can't be anywhere, then you've lost. But you're trying to be the first person to get it to be only on one place. That is the entire game.
I quite like the idea of using the dice to perform an action, to decide on the action you're going to perform. Actually, I like that. So so that there's a central dice are rolled centrally, and you like for example, there are 2 dice rolled. Everybody simultaneously gets to choose one of those dice and do the thing that's associated with that dice, which might typically be move or take a card. And that, but you could do. We under the restrictions, we can have our own simultaneous map, can't we? So we could come up with. Could we come up with different solutions then? I suppose. Could we?
Yeah, I don't know. I have to admit, to be honest, when Bez said her idea, I think that their idea that really, I actually think that's very good. To be honest, I like the I think it's very clean.
It is.
And I immediately know how that game works. I mean, there's no dice, but I think this kind of like. I think it's actually very good, very, very good. I like because it's just I think, and also that kind of roll and write thing is very simple for people to understand. It's take a card, cross off a few things, and you need to get down to having. And I was thinking of a couple of slight little twists, like you could potentially have your map into quadrants potentially, and you have to have one in each quadrant that might give it. Because I can imagine some restrictions which might be a bit too easy, which might let you like cut off swathes of the map.
That's true.
But if you had to make sure you have to find something in each quadrant, then that's a bit more. And then you probably need a small thing to stop players all choosing the same thing. So whether it's the kind of like there's a round leader and they choose one of the cards and then the rest are freely available to all the players. You probably just need something, or just some small asymmetry. Maybe everyone starts with one card that they're dealt at the start of the game or something like that, which might actually be just enough because you want purposely people to be pushing
in different directions. So it's a flip and right rather than a roll and right.
Yeah,
this column it's not here. And a quick hello to Rob. It's lovely to
Rob,
see
hi
you.
there.
And hello to Timmy. It is lovely to see you as well. We're just getting closer and closer to having worked out a game. That might be
this sounds like
a playable thing.
Right. This sounds like this is quite good. Yes, I can see how that. I think the advantage we've got here is it's nice and simple and straightforward, which is a big benefit.
There's going to be a lot of design work in designing this map and exactly where the
we could do so. I could do something pretty quickly while we're talking. I could just quickly lock something up. It doesn't have to be that difficult, I think. So you keep talking, and I'll keep talking again.
Okay, so let's.
Oh well, I could somehow. I don't think I can share. Can I share? I can share my screen.
I think you can share your screen. Yeah.
You can share screen. Yeah. I think so. This is very Tobago. This is very Tobago-like, isn't it?
Or cryptid, as someone said in the chat.
Okay. I haven't actually.
Yes, you're right.
It feels different enough to Tobago that they can both coexist. Like if you, I think the key question is, if you liked Tobago, would you want this as well?
Well, yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, this will be quicker than Tobago, I'd hope. Yeah. So we're what are our first things we have to actually determine? I mean, are we determining what might be on the map?
Yeah, we need the map. We just need the map and the cards. Those are the two things.
I mean,
I think if we're looking at hunt the battleship type of thing, then which I think we could easily just do that. We're hunting a battleship in each quadrant. That would be nice. So I think we do. I like the idea of four quadrants makes sense, particularly because of the word quadrant. So I think we're going to have C. We could have interesting thing about World War II planes, which I found by listening. I'm listening to book on Pacific War. Apparently, pilots could determine things like ocean depth and direction of currents from looking at the surface. And I didn't realise that they could, because they could go down from 1,000 feet or so. You can tell quite a lot about the nature of the sea from surface.
I mean, ocean depth is really good because we want things that are actually static. We can't just have whales and dolphins because they're going to be swimming around.
So we could have depth. So we could have, well, we could just keep it really simple: shallow or deep. You've got 2 depths then, haven't you? Nice and easy.
I mean,
or medium.
Or maybe you could have shallow, medium, deep, but I don't know.
To be perfectly honest, I guess I didn't know whether we needed to stick with the like. I'm thinking of islands certainly, but when we're looking, we're not necessarily because if we want something to be on land, possibly not.
Absolutely. Yes, sure. I think we need islands as well. What I was trying to do here is avoid the Tobago thing, which just has different types of terrain on islands, and it's a distance from those, and have something that's variable in the ocean.
I guess I'm not so worried about the similarities to Tobago ultimately. I think, but I certainly take your point.
Certainly, we need to have land. So distance from an island, distance from island would be one.
Just because of the way
on an
you
island.
say to me, right? They train us to look at the water to determine the wind direction in case of ditching.
Yes. Yeah. That's
so
right.
have you got piloting experience to me? Because that's quite interesting. But yeah, I think that for now, I mean, in terms of the game, it just needs to be, the exact features. I think it's worth talking about them, but they don't need to be determined as such for this map, for sure.
How many features? How many distinct types of features do we need for this to work? It could be.
We can also do the grid reference. Sorry.
Yeah, there's qualitative things that there's like it could be in X terrain, which can include C, or it could be a distance from X terrain, couldn't it? That's 2 qualitative things you could have. And I'm just thinking of enumerating the kinds of restrictions you can put in there. And then are we also going to have this question of you can have cards which simply allow you to eliminate a number of, are we talking squares, hexes, whatever?
I mean, maybe there should be a limit on how many. Yeah, well, I've started on a square grid, so
Squares is easier. Are we thinking that you would be able to? Oh dear!
Asking someone to create an island with a lagoon in the center is a tall order.
We're back onto Tiny Island.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks.
You know what? I'm going. That deserves some points.
Oh, I see. Oh, we're giving points. Oh, I don't know. Okay.
I'm giving points.
You're giving points. Fine. Yeah. So, I forgot. Now that's completely thrown my whole train of thought. Now. Are we just allowing people to cross off certain specific squares?
Yes.
Yes. And is
so
that
each turn you take a card, and then that card then allows you to cross off a certain number of the squares. Or you don't take the card necessarily, but you.
Yes. But could those be arbitrary squares, or are they specified on the card?
Well, they have to fit the requirement, whatever the card is saying.
Yeah. Okay.
And it possibly might be easier if.
Although it does occur to me that if the map is fixed, then a card is almost by necessity getting
it's automatically taking things off. It's not an additional
specific things.
That's what all the cards are doing. It's kind of what the
but unless there's a combination with quadrant, you could do a flip and fill where you have on the backs of the cards 1, 2, 3, or 4, which means that I can use this requirement in quadrant 1, or I can use this requirement in quadrant 2.
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
That's
yes,
nice.
That makes it so much better. I mean, does it need to be quadrants then, or could it even be like 2 or 3 different maps?
Well, it could.
But because functionally, what you're doing is you're working on 4 maps simultaneously, and you're deciding, okay, this is the clue. Which quadrants do I apply this to? Where is it going to be?
You could have clues which apply to the whole map and clues which only apply to one quadrant, couldn't you? Could you?
Yeah,
or
I mean,
would we not want that actually? May not want that.
Maybe what you could have is that you're allowed to. You could have on the backs of cards like a specific quadrant or one in each quadrant. So, which would say that this clue lets you put a maximum of 1 box. That you can think of 1 box in each of the quadrants.
Oh yes, yeah, I like that because that gives players flexibility and another choice, another interesting choice.
Yeah.
So how big is your map? How many squares do we? We don't want too many because we don't want it to be too vast.
I've got a 12 by 8, so that's 96, which I think is probably not a bad place to start.
That's the total size, is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, how exactly are we thinking that this quadrant selection is going to go? Is there going to be a different deck of cards where
on the backs of the cards, like welcome to?
Yes.
So
yes.
And then you have 3 options. Maybe like there's 3 decks and each card.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it could just be 3 options. Yes, exactly.
And so you
are you 3 decks or just randomly drawn from 1 deck?
Because I was thinking that if you want to allow yourself to go for, I mean, you're looking at the backs of the cards to see what number it is. So you need to have multiple backs of cards visible.
Yes. Yeah,
one for each front face card, don't you?
So I think we would have 3 decks. Sounds plausible.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could just run it at the same, just exactly like welcome to. You could just be 3 decks and you flip the top card.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't need to redefine.
So each quadrant is a 4x6.
I'm trying to share my screen, but I don't know if you can see. Is there some way?
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Yeah, so I think we've got a 4x6 for each quadrant.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So you put this on like this.
Yeah.
Nice. Just help guide the eye.
Exciting.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah.
So we have some mountains. So now I think we probably just need a few more features that we would add, I imagine, that we could refer to.
I don't know how many features we need. I'm not sure we need too many. I think, is it better to go simple to start with and then complexify it if we need to?
Okay, do we want to say like a buoy or something? I just imagine something that can sit in the water. Or do you want a ship or something?
I think a ship. Yeah, we can have a trawler or something. There could be some fishing. There could be some fishing vessels which aren't relevant, but only simply for giving clues to. It could be spy trawlers if you really want.
Spy trawlers. Yeah, I have to admit, I guess this is and it's probably seeing it pretty quickly. I don't really care about theme that much. So
no, shit.
But the moment I get to when I get to this, because I think the idea mechanically is very good, that I just sort of don't really care about the theme anymore. But that's not right, maybe.
I'm trying to keep to the storytelling a bit because it can help with.
We're hunting for the hidden dinosaurs.
Hunting for Godzilla or whatever. The hidden. Well, they wouldn't be dinosaurs. They could be, hidden plesiosaurs. You see. Yeah. I think they're hidden plesiosaurs. I like that. I'm going straight to theme, which is stupid.
Ooh.
Get the dinosaurs in there. Hidden or they're not dinosaurs. You know what I mean? Hidden plesiosaurs.
Hello, Joanne. So
hidden plesiosaurs. Well, they could be on. They could be on land. They could be on land. So hidden ancient beasties which have escaped from Jurassic Park. I think they've.
I'm just going to add something for towns.
Yeah.
So to try and summarize the idea we've got now, because we've been asked, but also for our own benefits, it's useful to have this idea. What we've got is everyone's got their own map, and each turn, everyone flips.
They've got their own map, but it's identical. Like
everyone's got their own identical map.
Everyone's got their own identical map, and you're trying to find a MacGuffin in each quadrant.
Yes.
And each turn, you get a choice of 3 options. These options might say, for example, it's next to a house, or it's not next to a house, or it's not in the same line as a boat. And you also have to decide which one of these 3 options are you going to choose, which quadrants does it apply to, and those quadrants, each card might be with a specific quadrant to say, okay, you either choose this fact in this quadrant or this fact in this quadrant. And by the end of the game, everyone's crossed off lots of boxes until someone's managed to find all 4 of these treasures.
Yes.
Yeah, so you end up with a single uncrossed box in each quadrant.
Yes, that's the idea.
Yeah, and so each person's drafting. You're deciding which information. Oh, and the key point from Matt that said, everyone starts off with 1 randomly dealt card. That's really important for the asymmetry.
Yeah, and maybe you get to choose which
pack you're from, which one, which could be.
Maybe no, you do it one. You get a thing at it. You do it 1 to each quadrant. I think that's the easiest, because then it's sort of this. You've got a starting point in each quadrant at the start, I would say.
1 card from each quadrant. Now, if we're only having 3 cards, that doesn't match with our 4 quadrants. But we could have a.
No.
Is it 1 from 4 cards or 1 from 3 cards or whatever? I don't know.
But I think you have 3 cards to choose from each turn. There would be, and the deck would be, I don't know, have to be sort of, it doesn't have to be that big, but I think we could get away with like 15 cards or something at the start.
Because are we talking about? Okay, so we're talking about. Are we talking about? So we're talking about 1 deck, but when you draw the card, you know what the back is, so you're putting that. Well,
the back of the other. I mean, it's like this. So imagine here's my face down deck, and on the front of the card I have, I don't know, and then on the back of the next card,
that shows what
C or whatever.
Okay, so that shows. That is
so
not
if I chose this combination, yeah, exactly.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
And it is a weird thing to kind of get your head around in some ways, but the treasure isn't actually any specific place. It's just that we have managed to work out through crossing off spaces that the treasure must be in exactly 1 space.
Yes, that's right.
If you ever choose a clue, that means that the treasure can be in no space in a quadrant. Then you have lost. And so, there's no... I mean, computers are used for the printing and whatnot, but it's not a computer game. It's very much an analog play. Can you
actually choose one which eliminates everything? I mean, I think isn't there a restriction? This is a restriction on Tobago. You can't actually choose one. Which
you're not allowed to. Yeah, you're
not allowed to choose one that gives you nothing at all.
So you're not saying you've lost if you do it, and saying you're not allowed to are functionally very similar.
Well, yeah, but the point is, it's the first to get all 4. So you shouldn't be eliminated. There should be no elimination. There should be no lost. It's the first to get all 4. So if you it's all about you have to choose a card that works, and there is if you can't choose a card that works, it just delays you. Because you have to wait and choose another one the next turn, I think. The treasure is simultaneously there but not there. The treasure is definitely there. You're just trying to find out exactly where it is, but the where it is isn't fixed until you've crossed off all but 1 square. That's the point.
And so in the theme of the game, in the mechanisms, like mechanically it's not fixed, but thematically the treasure is in a definite location. and you are
yes.
choosing these clues.
The card is in a definite. The treasure is in a different location, but you don't know what that location is until you have chosen all the clues that eliminate all the all the squares. So, if the computer looked at all the cards, the computer would know. Well, sorry, if the computer looked at all the cards in the successive choices that you were going to make, it would know where the treasure is. If that makes sense. I think it's important. You cannot choose a card that eliminates all squares in that quadrant.
Yeah,
that's important. Otherwise, it becomes a player elimination. We don't really want that.
No, you're not telling people what else they can do. You're always making your own independent choice. And
yes, that's right. That looks great. So, okay. So our deck, which is our C over here, that is just determining which quadrant all these cards apply to. So does that mean that everybody's actually doing the same quadrant at the same time, or can we have two? Can we split?
No, you have a choice of 3. So, like, hold on. Let me just check. So, like, a turn would be that you have these 3 cards, for example.
Yeah.
And from the rest of the deck, you have 3 stacks.
Oh, 3 of those as well. Okay, got you. Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. Good. That's fine.
And we're independently choosing which pair that we want to use. But
yeah.
we can use the same.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. That's kind of what I figured. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so it could be.
Some of them could say all. Yes.
All. If that works.
But it's 1 in each. But you're only allowed to cross off one
square in each. Yes.
Whereas
that's nice.
I don't know what maybe you're allowed to do like 3 times or something. Like, so you can do up to 3 crosses. I don't know exactly. Or maybe you don't.
I wouldn't put the restriction on until we play-test and see how it works.
Well, I suspect the problem that you're going to cross off a lot of things very quickly.
It may be. Well,
I mean, there would have to be careful. An issue if it's a quick game?
It might not be. Well, the thing is, that means we'll have to be careful on how we word these particular restrictions.
I would say in water, not next to land. Make it just in water, because not next to land. How many spaces are there that's even satisfy that?
Sure.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's why we have to be careful on how we structure these questions. They must be, if they're too broad, they'll allow you to eliminate too much, and if they're too narrow, they don't allow you to eliminate very much at all. And that's where we have to be. That's where you have to be a bit clever with the wording.
I mean, if some,
I like this. This looks like it'll work. We're going to have to be a bit clever because we want people can't see each other's maps, so you can't check that somebody's done it right. So it has. I'm actually
they can see each other's maps. I mean, well, in the real game, you would be able to see. You could.
But I don't. Yeah, but
I don't
we're
think
doing this
being
on
able
stream.
to see each other's maps
shouldn't be important.
Yeah, I think you have to say when you've found one of the treasures, so you get some sense of how other people are doing.
I was thinking that if you can't see somebody else's maps, there's a possibility of error if we have too many crossings off. So I'm coming round to the idea that it's either 1 square on all maps or up to 3 squares on 1 quadrant, because then you've only got you can't cross off more than 3. I quite like that because that means that people are less likely to make a mistake. What do you think?
Yeah.
One cross on all, up to 3 on 1 quadrant.
And Rob, the fundamental choice is you only get to choose one of these 3 things. So
yeah, everyone's
might be applying the same information, but you do get 1 clue that you're dealt with for a bit of asymmetry, and then thereafter you've got 3 choices. So hopefully people won't be choosing the exact same things.
Yeah, everyone is applying their same information. It's simultaneous. Yes, it's flip and right, and you're doing it simultaneously. So you are making, the choices, doing the crossings off, and then going into another round when you'll get another 3 cards. Yeah.
So you've got. It must be on land. It must be on water.
Not next to mountain.
Oh, you've got not on brown land, not on yellow. I mean, if you just say it is on land, is that too easy?
I think I'm just thinking at the moment in most quadrants, sea is the most common thing. So if you say it's not on land, it's too freeing, I think.
Yeah. Not next to mountain, not on brown land, not on yellow. Yeah.
I mean, there might be a point that, when we do, maybe the story of the game has to change a little bit with that it helps, that the clues basically say where you can put the crosses. That, that in a way is going to make the game a lot easier. If you say, like, cross out 3 yellows, cross out space next to mountains, cross out.
Yes. I think it's better to say that. Yes. Say what you can do. Not. But
the problem is you still have to describe it if you want to say cross out spaces not next to mountain. I mean, you could just put cross out spaces before each of these statements and it's fine. Cross out a space not next to mountain. Cross out a space in water. Cross out a space.
Yes, but we are trying to find something. For the story, it's
sure. So I think
it's not next to mountain. Leave it like this. It's in water. It's in the same way as a ship. It's. Oh well. Then again, what are you? What are you crossing out then? Actually, yeah.
You're kind of. If everything is not.
If it's not next to mountain, so what are you crossing out then? Anything
next to a mountain. So
anything next to a mountain. So
the word "not" could be, and.
So it's in water, means that you would.
Yeah, it's not on land because having to say everything is not is probably constraining it a bit too much.
We can't have this. If it's deduction, then limiting the number of crossings out doesn't work, does it? If we're saying it's in water, that means that. Are we saying that it is definitely in water, or are we just saying you can cross out 3 things that aren't in water? Are we specifying where it is, or are we specifying your investigations of about where it is not? So I think we are. I think in this we are actually specifying what we're crossing out, because crossing out, for example, if we're saying all, it's all in water. What we mean there is you can cross out 1 square that's not in water, but that doesn't mean to say that the target isn't on land. In water doesn't mean in this. Unlike Tobago is basically doing a full deductive thing where if you know it's in water, you can cross out all of the land. It's not in anywhere in the land. In this, if we're limiting the number of crossings out, we're not saying we're not saying in water doesn't mean it actually really is in the water. It means you can cross out something that isn't. I think we're specifying crossing out, aren't we?
I think
Does that make sense at all?
I think everything has to be not. I disagree with my previous self and agree with Alan. I think in water could be rephrased as, not at this same thing. I think that's fine. Just say not next to a mountain.
So you're crossing out spaces next to a mountain.
And
you're crossing out.
Just say it's not on water.
Yes. This is what you're crossing out. Because I'm thinking here we're saying, are we biggest question is, are we actually having a piece which is moving, doing this searching? In other words, so I'm not sure though. Are we, or are we just saying we're helicopters and we can go where we like? Because if we're saying cross out up to 3 spaces next to a mountain. That's fine if we're in a helicopter or whatever. I'm just thinking of the story. I think we don't have to move there, do we? So we're just saying that your whole turn is picking the pair of cards,
Yes.
Your whole turn is picking the pair of cards, so you can cross out absolutely anything you like.
Yeah.
But
within that restriction of
within
the
restriction.
quadrant. Yeah.
But are we? But I like the restriction of up to 3 in a quadrant or one in all of them, because I think that's a useful restriction, and it differentiates it quite nicely from straight deduction.
Yeah.
It's more of a search. It's more of a search game, and it's where you actually cross out things, which is more important than the deduction. So you can cross out 3 spaces on land in that quadrant. Is very radically different from saying you can cross out all the spaces on land in that quadrant. Now, I think that possibly makes it more interesting. It certainly makes it more controllable if everybody can't see everybody else's map.
And just to answer Joanne's question, it's a game jam, so likely situation, we're not going to be publishing it, but say if it turns out well enough, then I'm not against that idea. But for the moment, this is just going to be a thing that you can freely play. Yes. And on the weekend, on Saturday, fingers crossed, I don't know how far we'll get today, but you might even be able to join in something. But certainly on Saturday, I'm going to try and I'm hoping that we can get all these games to a point where we can play through all of them and have something that's, if you have access to a printer or an image manipulation program, so you can just cross off as if you printed it and crossed it. Then you can play along with us.
Next to means orthogonally, doesn't it?
Yes, it's always orthogonally.
Yes.
So I was thinking there's basically 1, 2, 3, 4. For the features, you can either say it's not in that column, not in that row, not next to, or not far away from.
Now I'm being much more specific about saying it's spaces in the same column, spaces in the same row.
Yes, sure. Yes.
But there's just a finite way to derive these, because it's either on or not on specific colors, whether that's blue, yellow, green, or brown. But for all the features, it's either column, row, next to, or far away from. And so I wonder if it could be modularized even more.
Maybe, but I guess if we're trying to get something that we could play, I think we're basically there in terms of we're happy.
Sorry, I don't mean to distract you. Sorry, I'll shut up.
It's just a question.
No.
Just a question of enumerating.
Shut up.
It's just a question of enumerating the options, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. Actually, we probably need 15 because we need. No, we can. We need 15 12, because there are going to be 5 things on the back. There'll be A, B, C, D, and all. So this is the point where I just have to kind of think. Or if you, I'm trying to also do it and listen. If you have some ideas for the final 3.
One question is, do you have all or do you have any?
I actually kind of like all because it's not a choice. Like once you know it's one space in all, you know what you're doing. Whereas if you say any, you're introducing this other thing where I have to look at every quadrant and work out what at least I think. I don't know.
All,
that would be my.
I think all is best.
And we are generally crossing off finite things. So we're either crossing off 3 in one quadrant, not everything that fits that criteria, but 3 in a single quadrant, or 1 cross in every single quadrant.
Yeah, you can have within 2 of a ship. Within 2 of a ship.
Yeah.
Oh,
and within 2 spaces.
That's a lot of spaces, basically.
Okay. Well, we don't have to. That is a lot. That's a lot too many. Oh,
because we've already got spaces next to a ship as well, which is
maybe we don't need that. Then we need to have something.
Have more row as a house.
How about on the edge of the map?
Yeah, I just did that.
Oh.
Well, at least we're thinking the same. Yeah, no, you're right. Bez, what did you just say? You just said
same row as a house.
Yeah, we guess we could do the.
I know it's boring, but just do same row as a house and same column as a ship. There you go.
Corners of the map or center of the map. So you could have the 4 spaces in the center and the 4 spaces in the corners, which might be interesting.
Sorry, what was yours?
You could have 4 spaces in the center of the map or 4 spaces in the corner of the map. So in the middle of the map or in the corner of the map. Is that 2? That's possibly 2 things. I don't know.
I guess it's just very prescriptive, isn't it?
That is a bit, yeah, true.
I wonder if it has to be just another one that's saying something on an island. Hold on. If I make at least
End of an island. End of an island.
What does that mean? I was just thinking an island without a feature, possibly, because we have. I can.
Well, I mean, a land area with 3 sides sea. That's what I mean by an end of an island.
Oh, I see.
I understood that.
It's a bit too fiddly then.
But we could.
Yeah, without a feature, it's quite good. Yeah.
Yeah. So
maybe put another feature or 2 in there. Yeah.
Well, let's see. I mean, it's going to be a bit of a.
You've got next to ship, next to mountain, next to a house. You don't have next to a house.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's a better idea. Yeah.
All right, we've got enough. So we've got 15, so we can. Okay, great. All right, stop.
Yeah, that's 15. Yeah.
Sharing by. I'm just thinking because I guess what I would do now is just print these out if we want to play it, but because to do the double-sided card thing is just easier just to print it out. But
yeah,
I don't know. What are people's thoughts on how we if we want to test it on stream?
I think that if one of us sets up a camera, I don't have a printer sadly, and a quick bye to Joanne. Ooh, Alex suggests gets a random number from 1 to 15. I mean, in all seriousness, you can do a random number with the ability of the internet. But yeah,
we need the card on the back as well. That's the
I would just print it out and write on the back or something.
Yeah.
If you're able to do that, that's how Rita did it yesterday.
Is that something you can do, Matt? Or I mean,
yeah, I can do it. Hold on.
Are you able to pop down your camera later on so that we can all see the cards?
That's going to be interesting. I could.
Well, we're going to have to print.
Yeah, I could probably manipulate the. Well, you can put the map if you have anything like Paint or something. I can send you the map as a PDF.
Send us a map.
But I meant just so that we can see the cards. That's all right.
Yeah, send us a map. Send us a map on the PDF. That'll be fine.
Oh, and yeah, there's a link in case we did want to roll some stuff.
That's a useful link anyway. Didn't know you could do that. I haven't seen that before. It's quite an interesting thing. Probably should have known about those, shouldn't I?
I'm going to change the name of one of the channels. What are we calling this game right now?
Hunt the dinosaurs.
Well, I've said cryptid battle, but that's only because I just take it straight from like battleships plus cryptid. But it can be whatever you want.
It's hunt the dinosaurs. It's they've escaped from Jurassic World, and we're trying to hunt them down.
So should I put this in the Discord then, the video?
Yes. So I've just made the channel Hunt the Dinosaurs. in the thing. So if you can share the PDF, then everyone else will be able to grab it.
Lovely. Oh, we've lost Matt.
Oh, I heard a pop. Matt is back. Matt's
replay.
back. Look who's back.
No.
Matt is back. It's back.
It's in the game chain. Oh, hunt the dinosaurs. Is that what we're calling it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yep. Alan said, I mean, we can change the name if you want.
Very limited contribution there. Yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
So I've just uploaded a video.
Lovely.
Ooh.
Download PDF. Print out.
I am saving that now.
Yeah. Oh, I better stick it into my current projects folder, hadn't I? It's current project.
Ooh. 2020, what? I'm titling this folder.
We all have different ways of
Yeah.
titling them.
Go to 09. And then I give it actually O2 is enough, and then I'll hunt the dinosaurs.
Lovely.
There we go.
Thanks, Matt. That was really quick.
Yeah.
No worries.
I think are you two much more au fait with this game jam thing? Because I have done very few game jams. Although to be fair, I did I did a 45-minute game jam once at, which I think I may have said in the previous live stream, at a conference of wargamers where we just had a talk, very interesting talk from an expert on. It was on urban warfare in ancient Macedonia, which was a slightly esoteric topic. But then, so he gave this talk, which was an hour and a half talk, and then we had 3/4 of an hour, basically in groups of 3 or 4, to design a game on that theme. It was a nice thing because we actually did produce some. There was certainly 2 or 3 really, really good ideas about how to do this. Surprising what you can do in 45 minutes when you've got 2 or 3 people who are all game designers in the room.
I mean, it doesn't always. I think it just depends. I mean, it also, the simpler the game is, the easier it is to run.
I mean,
Yeah, true.
that is a thing. That a game jam does tend towards the simpler ideas. And I don't know if that's, a problem or not, because from one perspective, people can get into making a game and it lowers the barrier. But would it be interesting to have a game jam where you had to make a big game that takes at least an hour to play? I don't know.
I think you just wouldn't finish it, though. I think, to be honest, I think the most important thing is to actually finish something.
Yeah, I think you're right. I would agree with that.
I'm going to okay. So
Okay, I've got the cards pretty much ready. I'm just gonna have to figure out how we're gonna.
I am on a laptop, so I sometimes just tilt the screen, but I know you can't.
I'm on a laptop as well, so I can work that out. Let's see.
We can do it. We're going to play a game, and if you were here, it's changed, but it's still the same.
Just have you all got a map in front of you that you're able to manipulate, like to write on or write on digital?
Just print it. I'm just printing it out because I thought it was easier. Print out.
Oops, I'm trying to remember how to make this.
I'll just get my map.
Oh man, Xate told me the other day how to do this. I can't. I don't know if Xate is still in the chat, but yeah, how do I write on this?
So are you gonna do a central version that everybody can see then, Bez? Is that the idea?
I mean, I was just hoping that Xate could help me, or someone could tell me which button I press to be able to.
Well, I'm going to try.
There I go.
Oh look!
Okay.
Oh wow!
Yeah. Okay, I've worked it out.
Well, I've got my printed map, so we're all fine, all set here. Oh look, it's got full color artwork and the lot. It's just great. This.
I don't really know how to do the. I suppose I can log on to this StreamYard with my phone, probably, right?
Yeah, if you log on with your phone. And Xate, I managed to work it out. It was just how do I do that, and for some reason I couldn't before, but now I can. So I'm not going to click anything, and so it's all good.
I think that looks good.
Apparently I had it on some sort of review setting, or I'd pressed a button, and yeah, we are all such professionals. I mean, I think this is the thing. Just because you're good at one aspect of, game design, it doesn't mean that you're then suddenly. Okay, so Matt, two things that you'll have to do. Firstly, I've put your phone on headphones. Make sure to do that, because otherwise there will be terrible feedback. Even if you're not listening to the headphones, put your phone in if you've got some headphones. That's what I have to do. Balti Matt. Is Matt frozen? Oh no, Matt's okay. Matt is Matt. That is Matt. We are looking at the side of Matt. Matt is not.
While we're waiting for Matt, this is my esoteric book of the stream. This is called the Confrontation Analysis Handbook, and it's by John Curry and Mike Young. It's as you can see, it's how to resolve concentrations by eliminating dilemmas, innovations in wargaming. Very interesting. These guys are very high-powered guys. They did this confrontation analysis technique for looking at some problems in the Middle East with some of the people actually from Middle East governments. So it's really tried and tested technique. If you're interested in that, go to John Curry History of Wargaming Project website and buy the book. It's very good, actually. I would thoroughly recommend it. And you can write your own scenarios, and then you can do confrontation analysis. So if you're, if you have family problems, or if you have some problems with your neighbours, or if you want to resolve something in the parish council about, I don't know, road access or buying some land, use confrontation analysis. It should give you some insights into the nature of the problem. That is the end of my advert for that excellent book.
So that's the niche book of the stream. This has to be just a regular feature with Alan when you come on in future.
It is niche a very, very good. So do you know this book, Nicholas? Maybe that's already. That's good. Thoroughly recommended.
Yeah. So is this fine? Can you hear me when I talk?
Yes.
Yep. Perfect timing, Matt. You're back in. I'll finish my advert.
Okay, I am.
Okay, so shall we start?
Okay, do we start off with a thing to make it asymmetrical? And if anyone in chat wants to play along, let us know, and we can hold up for a minute to give you a chance to print out or whatever.
So we get any one pair, or do we get?
No, just to start, you'll get dealt one of these cards. So Bez, you'll get this card. Alan gets this card, and I'll get this card.
And then what are we doing? So we're doing
one space in each quadrant.
One space in each quadrant for that particular card. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so normally if it was C or D, that would mean that you cross off 3 spaces in that quadrant.
Yeah.
Okay.
But for this, we just get one in each. Question though: if it says something like spaces next to a mountain, you're crossing off the space in the quadrant, but the rule could apply to something in the next door quadrant.
Yes.
So,
you always cross off the space in the quadrant that you have to.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Question: next to a mountain, does that include on a mountain?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I've done my bit.
No, you need to have a better pen.
I feel like I should be drawing in red.
Yeah, I feel like I should be drawing in not pencil.
So we're all right?
Yep.
Okay, let's try to find a better pen. That's the trouble with my colour printer. It means you can't write on the squares. Never mind.
So 3 spaces in the same column as a ship in B, 3 spaces in the same column as a house in B, or 3 spaces on a yellow island in D.
Okay.
B. I'm going for. And now, if you choose 3 spaces in the same column as a ship, you can choose it. You can choose to cross off the ship.
Yeah. Yeah. But all the spaces you cross off, if it's a 3, up to 3, have to be in the same quadrant.
Oh yeah. It has to be in
obvious, yeah.
the depicted quadrants. Okay, yep. I'm done. And Alex says there aren't 3 yellow spaces in D. If there aren't insufficient spaces to cross off, I assume you can still cross off up to that number.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, up to 3. Yeah.
Okay, 3 spaces in the same row as a house in C, 3 spaces in the same row as a ship in A, or 3 spaces on a brown island in C. Same as a house.
Oh. No, that's right.
That's how I'm doing.
Why was somebody saying there aren't 3 yellow spaces in D? Is that green? Oh, wait a minute. Is that green? The spaces in the top. Spaces in the top right of D
is green.
Are they green? That's my printer's come out as rather more yellow than it really ought to have done. Oh, well, never mind. Yeah, well.
Yeah, it might be
as
that.
We're playing, I'm actually thinking an interesting goal would be to have. Oh, sorry, I have this weird idea. Would be to have 1 space in each row and column across the whole map instead of just 1 space in each quadrant.
Oh yes, that would be interesting. So we haven't had any of that. We haven't had any alls yet, have we? Hang on, wait a minute. I haven't done that one. Hang on, I haven't done that one. Sorry, I got distracted. Right.
Let me actually check YouTube to see when we started.
Okay. Sorry. Yep. Done.
$11:50 we started. Okay. So space with a feature in B, space on the edge of the map in A, or one space in each, spaces next to a ship.
Yep.
Spaces with a feature is fairly limiting.
I'm done.
Okay, sure. I've made a choice. I've gone for A.
You seem to have lost the picture, Matt. Oh, of course, he's shuffling, isn't he? Yeah, of course. That would make sense. Better?
Yeah, technical difficulties of Matt's not having a holder for the phone.
Spaces on an island of 1 to 3 spaces, all. Spaces on a green island, all. Sea space adjacent to 2 or more coasts, C.
C. There's only one. Oh no. There's only 2 spaces in C that match that criteria, so I'm not going to go for that one. An island of 1 to 3. Okay, I'm going to go for the green island. Even though there is no green in B, it still seems worthwhile. The nice thing about this method, rather than doing literally everything that meets the criteria, is that we're not going to lock ourselves out of it, if you know what I mean.
Next one is spaces next to a mountain in D, spaces on a yellow island in D, space in the same column as a ship in A.
And just to confirm, when it says, for example, spaces in the same column as a ship, the way I've been playing it is it's a space in the same column as a ship that is also in that quadrant. Is that how we are playing it? Matt?
I'd be playing it that it's anywhere on the map, as long as it fits the global criteria.
Okay, that's it. Okay, cool. I will play that way as well in that case.
I'm done.
I'm done. I've gone for the spaces in the same column as a ship in A. Spaces in the same column as a house in D. Spaces on a brown island in C, or spaces on the edge of the map on C. And yes, exactly. The spaces needed to be in A, but the ship doesn't need to be on A, which is exactly how it was here, because I just did this one and that one, because they are in the same column as a ship. So I will go with that.
Suddenly realised I was asking something when I was muted, but never mind. I got the answer.
Were you asking the same as Alex?
No, you took the clues off and I just hadn't read them. But that's fine.
Okay.
It's okay.
Oh, Matt's frozen.
Tantalisingly frozen there, Matt.
Matt's mobile has frozen. There we go.
Right, what have we got? We've
got spaces on an island without a feature in B, which means you cross off 2 spaces. Spaces next to a ship in B, which gives you 1, 2, 3, 4 possible spaces because we're only counting orthogonally next, and space with a feature in A.
I think the problem here was that we haven't ended up being too asymmetric. So we're taking probably the same choices each time, I imagine.
I'm taking space with a feature in A.
I don't know. I'm taking different. I'm taking different. Making different choices from Bez for sure. So mine looks quite different from Bez's. So that's reassuring. I don't know. Is yours looking the same as Bez's? Maybe I've just been making poor choices. I don't know.
I mean, yours looks a bit different than mine, but
There's mine.
I feel like as long as I'm crossing off 3, I'm not sure. Yes, exactly. You're trying to find 4 things, 1 in each quadrant. I'm not currently feeling like I'm like, wow, I've made a really significant choice. I feel like maybe 3 just isn't enough.
It might be the no. Well, it might be the map's too big. I don't know, or maybe or maybe you should be crossing off 4, but I don't know. But then this what
or 5 or 6.
Well,
anyway, let's carry on.
I don't know. So we've got spaces in the same row as a ship D.
Okay.
Space in the same row as a house A. And spaces on land all.
And Alex, I'm not sure what that comment refers to. Do you mean that it should be free spaces in everything? That feels like that's then going to lead to very similar stuff. Or is that a question for us about the rules?
It's interesting that the alls are obviously, I don't say obviously, the alls are obviously better than the crossing off 3, aren't they? As long as you can cross off 4. So that maybe we need to have a cross off 4 rather than 3. I'm not thinking about now, obviously.
2.
So we've got space on island without a feature on C, space on the edge of the map all, and spaces next to a mountain C.
Okay. I will follow Alan's points and go for the all again. Edge of the map. That's what I'm going with. Oh yeah, and I think Alex's point was that maybe you do literally all cross off everything that meets the criteria, which I think is a fair point.
That is a fair point, but I was worried about getting it wrong. Space in the same column as a ship.
But I also worry that it becomes quite obvious what's the best move.
Yeah. Space in the same column as a ship in B. Spaces on a yellow island in C. And spaces next to a ship in all.
And there is no yellow island in C, so that's not going to happen. I will go for the all again. The way I'm thinking is I'm trying to, with my awareness of what the cards are, trying to do things that are hard to be done by the other cards.
Yes. Spaces on an island of 1 to 3 spaces in D. Space with a feature in D. C space adjacent to 2 or more coasts in A.
Well, I think there's a clearly better one for me, which is going to be spaces with a feature in D. That's me so far. Whoops, Matt's shuffling, so... What if there was a bonus for completing a quadrant first? That could definitely be interesting. And, like, you get to take a second choice for the next round. Or for that round.
Yeah, that would be quite good. So we have spaces on a brown island in B, spaces in the same column as a house in B, and spaces on a green island in C.
Okay. Same column. Green island in C, that's not very good for me. Brown island in B.
Yep, done.
1, 2, done. I went for the brown island.
Yeah, so did I that time. Went the same as you.
Spaces on the same row as a ship, everywhere, 1 each. Spaces on an island of 1 to 3 spaces, cross off 3 in A, or spaces next to a ship in D. That's not good. It's not good. Okay, yep, it's got to be the row as a ship.
Yeah, I'm done on that one.
Yep, I'm done. Sea space adjacent to 2 or more coasts, which in A, which only gives you maximum of 1. Space on the edge of the map everywhere, or space on an island without a feature in B, which would give you a maximum of 2. You haven't already.
No, there are 3 spaces that there's in A where the ship is. That's between 2 coasts. There's the little U, like the yellow island, like a U shape. So
yeah,
and between the 2 yellow islands.
Yeah. Because one of it was from B, I got slightly confused. So yeah, there's 2 spaces for the first option. Feels like edge is clearly best still, but you can only choose edge so many times before it becomes pointless. Okay.
Yep, okay.
Spaces on land in everywhere, spaces on a yellow island in C, which doesn't exist, or space in the same row as a house in C. Two, 3, 4, done. Shuffling, shuffling, now we see Matt shuffling, shuffling, shuffling. It's necessary for the game. Could the cards have A or B, or B or D on? That's definitely a possibility.
That might open a bit too many possibilities. It's a good idea. It might open to a lot of possibilities. You might be spending a lot of time analysing things a bit more.
Hmm.
Anyway,
like 3 options.
Spaces next to a mountain on A. Space with a feature on D. Space in the same column as a ship on A.
And reminder that space next to a mountain in A, there's only 3 possibilities for that because the mountain itself does not include next to a mountain.
Well, well, there isn't a mountain in A.
Yeah, there is. There's a mountain on the lower right of A.
Oh, so there is. You're right. Sorry. Yep.
So with a feature in D or column as a ship. Let me do 1, 2.
Hang on. Sorry. Hang on. Could you just turn that back? Sorry. Thanks.
I've only got 4 spaces left in A. I clearly have to start. I'm going to have to start focusing on some other quadrants now.
I've been going even rather than concentrating on one.
I've just done whichever seems like the best thing and ignoring which quadrants it is. So spaces on land in D. Oh, sorry, Alan, you read it out.
Okay. Spaces on land in D. Spaces on a brown island in B. Space on the edge of the map in D.
Oh man. Okay. 2, 3 in D. Okay.
Yep. Okay. Shall I do it again? Let's do it. Sure. So, spaces in the same column as a house in B. Spaces in the same row as a ship all. Space on island without feature A.
Okay. Do that. And that. Okay. Starting to nail it down. How does it feel so far? Asks Alex. I mean,
it feels fine, I think. Perhaps a bit longer than we wanted. It's fine, yeah. So
yeah, it feels like you want to get to the interesting part quicker. Like right now, it's quite interesting.
Yeah. Spaces on an island of 1 to 3 spaces all. C space adjacent to 2 or more coasts in B. Spaces on a green island in C.
Oh, this is terrible for me. Okay, so yeah, because now it feels like I'm not going to be doing the same number everywhere. So I've got such. I guess it does slightly feel like my choices have led me up to this point, which is nice. Spaces on a green island in C. I'm just going to continue thinking out loud.
It doesn't help that some of the cards are not very good, I think.
I get only 1. B space. Yeah, 2 or more coasts is always going to be worse, it feels like.
Yeah, that does feel like a weak card. But then we all get the same, so, you know.
Yeah, we sure do.
That was a very bad turn for me. I think I only had 1 space I could possibly cross off. But it doesn't mean necessarily that I'm quite close to finishing, unfortunately.
It feels like, yeah. I feel like if we were to play this again, I would be interested to go with just doing everything that meets that criteria.
Yes, perhaps.
As a solo game, it does occur to me that you could just see, okay, how quickly can you do it? How few cards? Spaces on a yellow island everywhere. Spaces in the same row as a house in D, or spaces next to a ship in A. Well, only one of those works for me personally. Although, yeah, if it was literally all of them, that would probably be.
Oh, I thought I'd got one then, but only nearly.
Nice.
Getting close on D.
Spaces next to a mountain in A. Spaces in the same column as a house everywhere. Brilliant. Or space on the edge of the map on D.
Space on the edge of the map on D gives me D. So I better do that, even if it's only one space.
Column as a house, that's where I'm going.
So I've got my D. I've done D, as it were.
I've done my A.
I've also done D.
And well, I'm really far away from D, but I have literally finished A. There is a tiny cross through this house, in case you can't see it.
There's the D. If you want to see my D, I think Matt said he'd done D as well. There we go. It's that tick is my. So which one have you found, Matt? Is it the same place? No, it's not the same place, is it? Oh, it is. It's the same place.
Ah.
That kind of feels logical.
Okay. So, space on land in B. Okay. E space adjacent to 2 or more coasts in B. Or space on an island without a feature in C, which... Okay, there is one. I think none of these give me anything, which is a wee bit disappointing. Yeah. It's possible that
I'm nowhere near any of the others, which is disappointing, but probably expected. I've done that one.
space on an island of 1 to 3 spaces in C, which doesn't exist. Spaces in the same row as a ship in A, which I've finished. Or space with a feature in D. Oh, none of these are any good for me, again.
Oh, yeah, I think you would get at least across 1 or box off or something. Or maybe if you've completed an area, you could treat it as wild or something.
Okay, so instead of space in the same row as a ship in A, it's just space in the same row as a ship anywhere.
Well, in one quadrant, but you can choose which quadrant.
Or you. I was going to say, or it could be wild in one quadrant, one space wild in one quadrant if you can't use anything. A specified quadrant. Yes, is that right? Is that what you were saying, Matt? Space. So if you can't use a card, you get a single wild space in one of the quadrants mentioned.
Yeah, if you can't do it, you just get to cross one space off anywhere, maybe.
Yeah, maybe one anywhere is simpler.
Constellation single space.
Yes. That seems like.
But if you've completed an area, like we've already found our stuff in D, that means when D comes up, we can treat it as any quadrant.
Oh, sure. Only if we can't use the other cards.
So you're saying two different things, just for
Yeah.
clarity. In case you are misunderstanding, Matt, what Alan is saying is if you can't use any of the three combinations, then you just get to single space literally wherever you want, any space.
But you're also more likely to be able to use something if you can treat the quadrant as wild when you've completed it.
Hmm.
In this instance, I've completed D, but I would be able to use this in B actually.
Okay, so because I've finished A, I can do space in. So I'm trying to read that.
Treat the restriction as use anywhere. Are you saying?
So yeah, this is Matt's new rule.
You can just change the quadrant
to
whichever quadrant you want.
But still to cross off up to 3.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's a bonus for having done one of the things. So space in same column as a ship, I can now do literally, well, I can choose one other quadrant, which is quite nice.
So I could use spaces on a brown island anywhere. Yeah, well, great.
Okay, definitely spaces in the same thing as a ship.
Oh, I could use that.
And that almost gives me C.
Oh, question. Does space in the same column as a ship means you pick one ship and use spaces in just that column? Yes. You can't.
I wasn't doing it that way.
Is it up to 3 spaces in the same column as?
I was treating it as a single ship or a single thing, but I could see how you'd read it two different ways.
I was doing it the more permissive way. If I win, then there's an asterisk, but clearly that's something we need to decide.
So,
I mean, I like it being a specific thing because you can set up spaces like in a row or a column.
I would agree. It should be probably not permissive. I'll treat it as not permissive. That's okay.
I've already treated it as permissive. I've already made my marks.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
Back, but I'll do it that way going forward.
That's a playtest thing. Yeah. So, space on the edge of the map B, space in the same row as a house A, space on an island without a feature C.
Okay. I'm definitely going for A. I think that Matt's rule of being able to choose what you want if you've already finished something does make it does open up the possibilities quite a bit, which is quite nice in some ways.
I think you need it so the game still runs near the end.
Yeah, for sure.
What if you just can't use all 3 cards and it hasn't come up with your quadrant?
Or then
you get one space anywhere.
One space anywhere.
Exactly. Yeah, it's an interesting thing.
And again, it hasn't helped that we have a couple of cards that are just complete duds.
Yeah, I think you're right, Alex. You probably
like all the time.
Yeah, racing to finish a quadrant is yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we have. Oh, sorry.
I mean, the reason that space in the same row as a ship, to me, it should be multiple ships, is because here in the all, surely it's not just one ship that you're picking. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you mean with that. Yeah, because it's all.
It's kind of.
Well, that's what all means. All has to separate them out, but the other ones don't. I do see what you mean.
There is definitely an inconsistency.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Or spaces on island, on sea, and spaces next to a ship in B.
I mean, maybe we can call it now. I mean, I don't know. Because I think we're going to just struggle near the end.
I just crossed off 2. I don't feel like I'm slowing down too much.
Okay.
Are you crossing off fewer and fewer?
I crossed off 2 that round.
Yeah, I've done 1 on the last 2 turns.
All right. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's going to get that way. We'll see. Let's see.
Spaces next to a mountain, maybe on D. which would give me 1. I'm just going to start saying how many they would give me for information. Spaces with a feature everywhere, which would give me 2. Ooh, and that would give me C. Or spaces on an island of 1 to 3 spaces, which is pretty rubbish, and that would give me nothing. So, yes, spaces with a feature is where I'm going for. And I have now finished 2 of them.
Well, I've nearly finished B, but we're some way off the others. Yeah, that would spaces in columns with ships would be the more permissive.
And
I think
that would make it clear.
Possibly we do need to be a bit more permissive if we're going with only 3 crossings off.
I mean, currently it feels like the main skill is kind of in knowing the deck, and it was.
Yes, I would agree.
Spaces in the same column as a house in B. C space adjacent to 2 or more coasts in C, or spaces on a yellow island in A. So yellow islands, I can't.
So are we going more permissive now? Because that would help. Because then I could cross off two things in B.
If
I pick 2 houses, I can cross off 2 spaces in B.
That's true of me too.
Let's do it. It's only a playtest.
Are we going more permissive?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
That means I finished B. You could call it more permissive, or you could call it cheating, whichever one you like.
Next to 2 or more coasts. Let's see.
So I've done B and D now. So in the interests of pushing on.
Yeah, as written, I get 1, 1, 0. Nothing is permissive. Cheating is permissive enough. Space in the same row as a house in C. Spaces next to a ship in B, or spaces on land in C. Done all my land. Yeah, I was right to start off doing all the C spaces because I thought those would be the trickier ones to do. And despite that, I've still ended up doing all my land spaces. So that's
rapidly closing on C now, so that's looking promising.
Same row as a house. Oh, I can get myself D because I've done C, so cross off that, and that gives me that. So only 1 left to do. But
maybe it should finish once you have 3 anyway, because it's.
Yeah, maybe. First 3, maybe. I don't know. It feels. Yes, because it may be really difficult.
I think 3 is good because you're going to have Bez is now very.
Yeah.
Restricted.
Yeah, let's play.
Shall we stop? Shall we call it that? Maybe?
I mean, I feel like it's probably going to become a rubbish game at this point. I think it
could get frustrating at this point.
It's going to be really frustrating.
Yeah, at this point it could. I think maybe just getting 3 is best. So you've got 3, haven't you, Bez? So
yeah, but space in the
I've got 2 now.
Space in the same column as a ship in A. What? Space on an island of 1 to 3 spaces in A, or space with a feature. Okay, well.
Same as a ship.
Column as a ship gives me 2 or 3, depending on whether we're being permissive or not. So I've got 4 spaces left, and because of the wild rule, because any of them can apply to B now, it's probably actually quite likely that it will finish in 2 turns anyway. I'm not sure that we need to stop. So
I only crossed off 1 in that particular thing.
But
may have made some poor choices. Anyway, that's fine.
So spaces on Brown Island on D, spaces on Green Island everywhere, or space on the edge of a map on B. Oh, this is disappointing. Yeah.
B, I've already got B, so that can be space on the edge of a map. Anywhere, so it could be on A.
That's
I've nearly got A.
First one for a while that I've not managed to cross off anything. Alex suggests that you might just end up ignoring one of the quadrants if you knew that you were going to stop at 3.
That's true.
But I don't know if you would, though, because if you do ignore one, if you're making the game much more difficult. Because you specifically have to find those 3. You don't know what the cards are going to come at.
Yeah, because you're just effectively ignoring. Yeah, you're ignoring.
You're essentially restricting your
choice.
choice.
If the cards are more balanced, would that actually be such a bad thing? It would be like, okay, the first 3 that I start putting, at some point, are going to start ignoring 1.
Okay, so next one. I'm nearly there, actually.
Nicholas,
very, very, very nearly there.
Suggests something wild. What about if each player only got 3 quadrants and 1 random quadrant as wild from the start? It would make the map smaller and would make each draw different for each player, besides people that got the same quadrant. So up to 4 players, each one has a different wild, but from there's some overlap. That's definitely interesting, because having that choice of which quadrant to go for. And yeah. Spaces in the same row as a ship in A, spaces next to a mountain in C, or spaces on an island without a feature in B. Okay, none of these help me cross off the 4 that I need.
That means I can get A. Yeah.
I've got 4 C's.
I just need C now.
I've got 4 C spaces.
I think we should just stop, because now
I'm not sure how I'm going to get these. I'm not even sure what cards give me these 4 spaces.
I think I could complete C.
That would be the column as a ship, column as a house. I think I'm waiting for those.
All right, let's do one more.
Yeah, let's do one more. See what happens. Yeah. I think I can probably do C.
Wait a minute. How do I do? What gives you these 2 spaces in B? The ones with circles. You see the ones?
Nothing, probably.
Yeah, that's going to have to be a random. Yeah, you're going to have to do a random.
So let's just stop. That's the problem with the map.
I think there's literally nothing that gives you those 2. And
you see, you shouldn't have left them open.
No, there was never an opportunity.
Oh, actually, no. That to be fair, they are very difficult, aren't they?
Like, is there literally anything? That's what I'm asking.
I mean, when you obviously we didn't design the map very quickly. We did it very quickly. You'd obviously make sure that every space has sort of multiple ways.
Yeah. No, that worked. That worked pretty well. I think I would suggest that we might want to go to up to 4 spaces rather than 3, so that all is 4 spaces, and then in every quadrant you can fill up to 4 spaces. And 3. That might be.
Just make it smaller. Just make
make it smaller. Make the whole thing smaller. Just make the map smaller. Yeah.
The other thing I was thinking was, if you were to only require a limited number of them, it wouldn't matter that all is an advantage, because then you can't just pick 3, because all is still giving you 1 in each of the 3 that you want. Although, as I think Alex said, going for 1 to start off with does feel like a good strategy.
I like the idea that if we do make it a bit more restrictive, especially the row and column ones, I think that means that visually, I think it's easier for players to sort of understand, like, oh, I've got 3 open in this row. I'm going to wait until I can get the one that'll let me do them all. And then actually the one of each is okay because it lets you sort of cross off these random ones that
exactly.
So actually I don't mind that. There was part of me that with the cards I was wondering actually if it were more interesting to have like it actually be a bit more, I think we said that, to be a bit more combinatoric. So, there's essentially like it says an element and it says in the same row as, or the same column as, or adjacent to, or, I mean, I don't know. Or maybe you just have enough cards in the deck so you just basically have all the possibilities, which is probably easier in a way.
That's probably easier. It just requires a bit more enumeration of what they are.
But that's fine. You don't want to really be shuffling
smaller map, slightly more cards, and definitely permissive.
Well, crossings. I actually think not permissive. I just think because it's more interesting. I just think it's, in terms of, for me, the most interesting part of the game is, as Bez said, it's the planning.
That's true.
The seeing where your opportunities are. I think when you have spaces which are, I mean, I think having things that like requiring even adjacent space. I'm not saying it's necessary that it has to be that, but I do wonder if a general rule about if you're crossing off spaces in a, well, maybe it's not possible, but I was just thinking it's easier to think about adjacencies. Anyway.
Pick one feature, and that's the feature that you are relating to. So if it's squares adjacent to mountain, it's spaces adjacent to one mountain, next to a mountain. If it's in the same row as, it's a ship. So you pick a ship and its spaces in the same row as that ship, etc., etc. That does make, I mean, that's quite good. That means that does make the planning better, so that once you know the cards, you'll be able to plan. Okay, well, I won't fill in that brown island in B because I want to pick it up from spaces on a brown island. But then the B, with B, you've got a two brown island one, so you can't. That's quite good because it means you're not going to be able to do the brown islands in B in just 2 shots. It'll have to be 3 shots if that's what you're waiting for. So I think that's good. It gives better quality choices to have it restrictive. I think that's right. Having reversed what I was saying earlier, it depends on whether we want the game to be longer or shorter. I think it's more interesting and slightly longer if it's not permissive, which I think is fine. More interesting is better than just shorter.
I wonder if the number of spaces that you cross off could be different based on the cards. Like if on the cards it could say, like firstly, I just want to say that I would definitely write 1, not in big red text like that, but you know what I mean. Because that would be so much clearer. Spaces in the same row as 1 ship. I am personally in favor of it being less restrictive. Sorry, more restrictive, but clearly restrictive. I would also say that what if it was just all spaces next to 1 ship? Because really, there's only going to be a maximum of 4 spaces there anyway. So, and then if you just say all the spaces on an island of 1 to 4 spaces, and what if some of them let you do everything, like row or column, if the map was the size that it was, but row or column allowed you to do everything, but edge of map can't allow you to do everything. That's just silly. But maybe edge of map allows you to cross off particular things, and all is just.
Well, we have to be careful because we have to be careful that players are going to pass the information fairly quickly, especially if there's, if we're looking at 3 cards, each card has to be passable pretty quickly, which is why I was quite keen that people knew automatically it's going to be either one square in each quadrant, or it's going to be up to 3 squares in any single quadrant. That means you don't have to pass that information when you're reading the restriction. If you change the number of spaces you can cross off by card, then you have to pass that information.
That's true.
While you're doing the assessment, which makes it a bit trickier.
So, What's your thoughts? Do you think that we've got something here? Are you keen to pursue it?
No, absolutely. I think we definitely. I mean, I actually don't think it's that far. I mean, no, I think it's. I actually could definitely see, pitching it to a publisher. Actually, to be honest,
it's pretty close.
I mean, it's not there yet, but it's
pretty close. I do think it's pretty close. It's I think literally now it's a question of going through and fine tuning the possible restrictions based on what we've got already, and possibly making the map smaller, and then just playtesting it to death. But I think it's nearly there, isn't it? It's pretty good. I mean, there's some questions. There are some questions. Do we need another? Do we need a mountain in C, for example? We haven't got a mountain in C. I don't know if we need to have a mountain in every area. I don't know. It's those kinds of little issues, and just checking there aren't any black spots that you can't actually cross off, which is identified. Which is just a question of going through.
I mean, for sure, we could say, okay, let's change the map. It feels like it needs something more fundamental to be shifted about it. For sure, there were some wee tweaks that we made with the wildcards that definitely made it a better game, because being able to say, okay, I've done 3 of them. Well, any of these can apply to D. That was quite a nice situation to be in. I do wonder, is it going to fail in the way that Alex mentions, that you might just end up going for one particular quadrant and that's all you go for? I do wonder.
I don't think that would. I think that's unlikely to be a problem.
Well, I think there's 2 things. I think it's actually good that there is a strategy for players can feel like that they can specialize in an island. I think that's good that it's might push them away from saying, I'm always going to do something that's going to cross off 3, or I'm always going to do something. I might go, actually, I'm going to take this slightly suboptimal thing of 2 because it might cross off this quadrant earlier. I think that's actually very good to drive players to do one quadrant quickly. I think it'll push against the normal part of the game. And I think finishing it after 3, I think will basically mean there's tension up to a point, and then basically it cuts out at the right time. And I mean, this is all
But you have to declare when you finish a quadrant, right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you just win when you get to 3, basically.
Yeah, you win when you get to 3 is important, because you don't want the frustration of, I got to 3 I was the first person to get to 3 and I couldn't finish the last one because I was only crossing off a maximum of 1 square per thing. That would feel really frustrating, I think.
And of course, Alex's thing, I think, is absolutely right. Yes, the most efficient way then is to try and ignore 1 completely. But of course, that's actually the more risky strategy, because if you completely ignore something and you get 1 deal which is all of that region which you can't use, then so actually I think that's actually good. I think that will give a lot of tempo to the game and will give a bit of variety. And I don't actually think that's because you're fundamentally restricted by how the cards come out, and you don't know what the combination of the quadrant plus restriction.
Yeah, I agree. I think that gives strategic decision. Am I going to concentrate on 1 quadrant or not? Or am I going to concentrate on trying to maximize the squares you cross off? Those kinds of things. And also tactical, what do I do in this particular quadrant with this particular card? I think that gives you both the tactical and the strategic aspects of it, which I like.
Do we want people to, I don't know, cross off 2 columns? Something more grandiose, something more asymmetric. Do you know what I mean?
What do you mean, sir?
I mean, sorry, let me.
The grand cross off the whole column.
So I'm just kind of getting rid of all the stuff that I added to your PDF, and imagine at the start you say, okay, you pick 1 column, or you get a card, and that column for you is just strike through, and 1 column on the other side as well. It can't be 2 columns on the same sides. That would just be silly.
Do you mean as an asymmetric starting position? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly.
I'm not sure that helps with the planning, though, does it? Because it means that you've you've actually reduced the usefulness of some cards significantly. Especially if it's random, or are you picking them? Why two
I guess
columns?
there's the other question. Do we need
why not a column and a row? I don't know. If it's going to be that, why not a column and a row rather than two columns? Don't know.
Do we need that asymmetry?
I think so, because you just need something to nudge. I think so. I think you do need it, actually. And I think just a simple way of I mean, right now, look, we don't know. Obviously, there's more testing, but I think right now, I think just having everyone using the components as they work and the rules as they work, I think is good. It's nice. You don't have to have extra. You're kind of using a turn. Everyone gets like a 0th turn, which is a little bit different, but still obeys the same central rules. And it doesn't make one quadrant better than the other. You're crossing off one thing in each quadrant, but in a balanced map, it should give you different. Well, you would hope different things. I mean, the other thing, of course, is that we could also have different little mini goals that, you know, we were sort of talking about that fact of like, if you finish a quadrant, you would get, you get an extra turn, but maybe finishing a quadrant's already good because it kind of gives you this, well, first, A, you have to do that, and B, it gives this wild option. Maybe there could be something different, like, as you said, like, if you cross out all the spaces in a single column or a single row, across the whole map, it could, that could give you, well, either a benefit or just an extra turn. You could, or you get to draw a card and use it in the thing of your choice or something like that. I don't know.
I like for asymmetry. I like the idea that, because these are quadrants, so you can easily see that you wouldn't have to have. You can have another quadrant. You could have 3 quadrants which were the same, and 1 quadrant which was your variable quadrant. Like that doesn't work quite so well for production if you're just printing the maps. But you could see that would give you a nice variant. Everybody has 3 quadrants which are the same and 1 which is variable.
And Alex mentions that could mean that you end up chaining, which is fair. Like, you fill up a column, maybe you play something extra, and then you finish this, and then you finish. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it probably shouldn't be rows and columns. I would say just one or the other across the entire map. And
I mean, it could be a different bonus. I mean, because obviously right now one is harder than the other. I mean, it could be that, rows are only 8 and columns are only 12. So 12 rather. So you get the extra turn on a row, but you get something else for the column, for example.
Yeah.
Maybe you get one cross anywhere for the column, but for the row you get a whole extra turn, or something like that.
Whole extra
turn. Whole extra turn is just only one extra thing. If it was like 1 wild just for a column and no other bonus, I think that would have made such a difference. Where it's okay, do this. Okay, I might be left with 8 or 10 columns that only have 1 or 2 spaces in them, and suddenly I go from not having finished anything to having finished 3 all in 1 turn. Now, is that a problem? I don't think so. Should you have a limit of how many wilds you can do in a turn? Like, maybe you can only do 3 in a single turn just to avoid.
If we're talking about wild, yes. I mean, it should be. I think columns are possibly too easy for an extra. It may be that you have rows, because rows being longer, you could have a single wild for when you complete a row. That sounds quite good, and also means that in some senses the difficulty with that is it allows you to correct mistakes. But maybe we want that. Maybe you want to have the idea that you can create. You can do it if you complete a row. It allows you to put one thing anywhere. That might be actually quite useful it makes it slightly friendlier, doesn't it?
With that one small change, I think it would be so much faster, because suddenly every time I complete a column, a row, let's say if it was literally just with the rows, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, let's say, I guess there's going to be 5 times during the game before you finish you're going to get to put this wild down, because one of them you've got to leave free, and then functionally there's 5 extra spaces that you can go anywhere before the end of the game, and I think that's actually going to speed it up significantly.
Yeah, I agree. I would be for actually the bonus being you get effectively an extra choice from the, and it was in the chat I think, so you get an extra choice from that cards on that turn. Like obviously to trigger the thing you would have chose one of the pairs, and you essentially, the bonus is you get to make another choice of one of the pairs, but of course you can always choose not to use that pair and get a wild instead. I think that's going to be the general rule anyway, that basically you can always just choose to cross off one thing, or maybe not always. I don't know. We've got to see about that a little bit.
I think, that's not bad, because and sometimes that's effectively what you're doing, isn't it?
Yeah, because you always get to choose what's best in the situation. Like if you really need a wild space, then you'll just do that. But if you can use an extra action, that's obviously you're crossing up to 3 or even 4 spaces. So, and there's some nice actual like choices about, like I have this column that I'm about to finish, or row rather. Should I do it now because I don't have a good choice for my bonus action, or only be doing one, or do I wait? I think that that gives you that combo feeling.
And this is a bonus for any. It will probably be just the rows. Like for any row, once you've done a row, you get a bonus for doing any row.
So we're suggesting when you fill a row, you can do a second action from the current set, which could be a repeat of the action you've done before, but unlikely, but you could do theoretically, I suppose. Or you get a 1 wild. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
And are we saying also that if you don't like any of the cards, you can always just take a wild?
I think so, actually. Yeah.
That's not bad.
Yeah,
that will speed it up.
It's always worse than any of the actual choices.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Unless you've kind of gotten yourself into a corner, and I think that for sure, most of them are actually quite decent. It was just spaces based on particular colors of island were.
I was finding the 2 which were particularly restrictive, possibly because I didn't do it very well, was the ones where you fill in something on an island with no features, or the 1 to 3 islands, because there's only 3 islands which are 1 to 3, aren't there?
But honestly, that's just when I go take a run at the map again, you would just make sure that all the cards.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I was saying, I think a lot of this is to do with just refinement of the map and wording on cards. I think we're nearly there.
I mean, like if we had, I do think that I find it slightly confusing that spaces next to a mountain or spaces next to a ship doesn't include spaces on the ship. But maybe it's not a big deal, just because I had to double check that. I mean, once you told me, I was like, okay, I just have to remember that. Do you know what I mean?
Sure, I think we can make sure where we design the cards that they're that they're clear and
like iconography.
Yes, iconography on the cards would just shows what you mean. Yeah.
I mean, when I look at them,
interestingly, it might be possible to do it entirely with iconography, not with words at all. I'm not sure, actually, but
I feel like these ones are rows and columns tend to be really powerful. The ones with specific colors tended to be annoying, but I know that you can fix that with maybe only having 2 colors and making sure that both colors exist. That was really annoying. That felt kind of limiting. That was the worst, for sure. This was the best. The most powerful, not necessarily the best from a design point of view.
Yeah, but you do have to have some variation. You can't afford to have it just they're all really, really good. You have to have some which are not as good. So you have to people have to be able to make choices about things, and then planning. You have to, you see what I mean? There's no point in having things which are in things which are just all really good, because then it becomes a very vanilla. Game. You want people to make actual sensible choices about things. Yeah,
it's interesting, and I actually, very quick tangent. I was listening to On Board Games yesterday, and on board games it's quite interesting because sometimes it's okay, it's a review palooza, they just review stuff. Sometimes it's okay, we're going to talk about RPGs. And this episode, the third episode that I was listening to yesterday, was with Isaac Shalev and I think Eric and Kathleen Mercury, I want to say, talking about balancing games. And yeah, making the same points as you, Alan, just reminding us that you've got to have enough differentiation so that choosing something actually matters. And I know Mark Rosewater said something similar, which it seems really counterintuitive. And this is one thing that I still struggle with, that saying, okay, there has to be better cards just to make drafting an interesting thing, because otherwise all you've got is the synergy. And sure, synergy can be, okay, what's our at a very basic level, but that's a compliment.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I didn't do drafting in Kingmaker, because if you do drafting in Kingmaker, people just automatically just draft the good cards and not the other ones.
But then, of course, in Magic, there is synergy, not just in that you want to go down fewer colors, but also there are cards that talk about each other. You want to have a variety of effects in your thing, but it does still feel to me like, sure, I accept that not everything needs to be exactly as good as everything else. And I'm not saying, hey, get rid of the next to stuff. But I do believe that if we have 3 colors, then, this is not, 3 colors is just too many. I think it's just a case of maybe having it 2 colors, just so that the band is a bit tighter, just a bit tighter.
But I still honestly believe that it's just, I really think all of these things, they're so linked to how the map is designed. Like if there's no water, for example, having 3 types makes sense. So it's just, I think, I just think it's going to come down to design the cards and the map in concert, and it'll be fine. I'm not worried about that.
It's a technical design issue, which is
solvable.
It's solvable. Yeah.
I might have to go soon.
I am as well. Yeah.
We've gone over what we normally do by an hour. It's almost 1 o'clock, which is incredibly late. I feel like the rules we've finished up with, and having always the choice of 1 wild, that seems really strong. I mean, not too powerful. I just mean that seems like a really strong design choice. I feel like having that then allows you to fill in those awkward spaces as well. I think for sure, just a different map, and then the rules that we've just said is somewhat. Are either of you happy to type up a note form what we've got?
Yeah, I can write some rules and do it. I mean, I've got the prototype on my thing. I can do it.
Okay.
So I was going to say, let's
circulate it, we'll all chip in.
Yeah.
I mean,
should it be a Google Doc or somewhere else, or what do you think?
Yeah, make a Google Doc, link it to the Discord, and you can make most people able to comment, make me and Alan able to edit. That would be maybe a good way to do it.
Yeah, that's good. Excellent. Wow, this has been fun.
And what I'm hoping is that we can maybe continue working it. I don't think it needs too much more. I think it's a really solid start, and have something done for Saturday. And when I play through all the games, I think it will probably be multiple days that I take to play through everything that's been created. But
Bez, could you make me a channel for my pie bidding game? I don't know what
pie bidding.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, is this game still called Hunt the Dinosaurs?
Who knows?
Probably not, but yeah.
Okay.
But
I'll just call yours Alan's pie bidding game. Okay,
that's fine. Because I've got it written up here. I want to stick it on the Discord. So
okay, there you go.
Thank you.
And I think this is time for. There's still time to do a typical pie. Oh, I love that.
Highest bidder. Oh, can you change it to that, please?
That is brilliant. That is such a good name. Okay. Pie highest bidder. Oh man, that is brilliant.
Yeah,
I'm just going to say, automatically get because you get at least 100 points for making me laugh. I'm just making that flat out rule from now on. So definitely got potential. So, and Nicholas suggested tiny cryptids for this one, but don't know if we want to shout out other things too much. Anyway, so what have we done today? What has this been all about? We talked about, very briefly, about Lockbeer Landlord and other games that we've been playing. And then Battleships Roll and Write, bidding for Pi, highest bidder as it's now called, about the highest unique number. We talked about rolling dice, different colors, talking about deduction. With the battleships, there was the notion of searching for something maybe similar to Tobago. And then we ended up going down a rabbit hole that seemed to, come about quite easily. And so went to the flip and right thing. And that is... Then we played it, and it wasn't a great game, but through the changes that we made during the game, it became better. And through the complete to roll, get to wildcard, that seems to have a lot of potential. I'm really excited about the future of this and seeing how it evolves. And so and I will get right on that just after we finish. But is there anything else that I have to talk about that we did?
No, I think that's a good summary.
Okay, I'm just going to find the links so I can chuck them into the Discord.
Sorry, that was my confrontation analysis again. Sorry.
Oh, thank you. Well, if you want to check out Alan Paull, where do you like to be found, Alan, on the internet?
I am at Benthamfish on Twitter, and I'm also Alan at surprisestategames.co.uk on that thing.
Yeah, I'm Wise Goldfish on Twitter. That's probably the easiest way to reach me. And I'm streaming at MT Dunstan on Twitch. And
do check out all those wonderful people, and I am, of course, Stuff by Bez everywhere. It feels wrong to not do the whole thing. Stuffbybez.com, stuffbybez.bigcartel.com if you wish to buy my stuff, twitter.com/stuffbybez, instagram.com/stuffbybez, twitch.tv/stuffbybez. I'm streaming every day at 10 a.m. UK time. I'll be back here tomorrow. I'll be back here tonight. We'll be playing my Strange Animal Noises and Mandela's game also very quickly. youtube.com/stuffbybez for the old episodes and stuffbybez.com/discord. And now if you want to join in the thing, this is going on. There's still plenty of time to get involved. Just come up with an idea. You could frankly just swan in on Friday evening and start making a thing, and that's totally permissible. I want to say thank you, everyone. You've all been amazing. Alan, Matthew, everyone in chat, you've all been super fantastic. And also anyone watching this after the fact, over to you. What are you up to? You can share anything you want to. Is there anything that you're wanting to achieve that you're struggling with, or anything that you're looking forward to? Something exciting, boring, serious, or frivolous? What would you like to share? Oh my gosh, and Idol Michael has, we've been going so long that Idol Michael has just raided us. And hello, we have just been finished, and we've just finished playing a game. And, well, you get to tell us what you're doing after this. But thank you, Shitspopu, and thank you for following. Matthew, what are you doing after this? What are you looking forward to?
I have to just keep working, I guess, just catch up on the day. But I'm looking forward to having. I'm happy where this is gone. I'm looking forward to maybe working on the map.
Could I say thank you very much, particularly to Matthew for that. I think that was because you were doing all the manipulation stuff. That was really good. Nice typing. And thanks to everybody in chat. I am actually looking forward to two things. Lunch, which is beginning to smell quite nice. It smells a bit like pizza, so that's good. But also, I am actually really looking forward to finishing off Kingmaker because it's been going on for too long. I'm looking forward to that a lot.
Good luck.
Wow. And if anyone, Alex asks, will you be having that with some goat's cheese?
Well, I don't know because Charlie's doing the cooking, so she may have done that. I hope so. It'd be nice.
How often does one genuinely thank you for the information? Michael's going to have some meetings, and I'm going to suggest we go and raid Erin Shea live. If you want to catch me later, I am streaming tonight at 8 p.m. UK time, a couple of games, and then tomorrow, I guess Matthew's streaming at 9 a.m. UK time.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And I'll be at 10, and there'll be more game jams. Check out where's my banner? stuffbybez.com/streams. Please share and spread the word. And if you want to raid, then please join us. Erin Shea's an energetic musician, brilliant stuff, really full of energy, really talented. And so check out this person with us. Feel free to copy paste some of the raid message. And do you have anything that you would like to say, Alan or Matthew or anyone in chat?
Nothing for me. Something I see on Discord, somebody's already made something in playing cards. Oh yes, there's like a version of the game already in.
Wow, Javier is really on the ball. That's amazing.
Yes, thank you very much, Javier. Yeah, it's amazing.
Wow, that's great.
I'll have to look at how to use this, but I will. I can then make a version that you could play on stream or something. Yeah, thank you very much. It's very kind.
But yeah, that is us. And yeah, if you don't know me, I do stream every day at 10 a.m. UK time. Although at the end of the month, after my 300th episode, I've decided I am going to take a very short break, and I might stream not every single day. But I've yet to decide. But for now, the only thing left to do is to say bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. Now it's time to go. Bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, bye. Bye, bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, bye. Bye, bye. And now it's time to go.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye again.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. I'm just going to keep this going until it's super awkward. Okay, no, it's time to go. Why is it 0 readers?
It's not
okay.
Super
it still works, yeah. I've had that. It's some error in Twitch at the moment, I think.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, I'm ending this.
again.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.